Cheers, everybody. We did it. A little bit of a delay. If you're listening to this after the fact, you're like, what delay? YouTube didn't work. That was a first. YouTube didn't work for a little bit, but here we are, hopefully live. Let me make sure I'm looking okay and sounding okay before I confidently roll on with the rest of our March 4th, 2019 Cup of Jones. Hey, everybody. It's the beginning of the week. I was totally prepared. If I had to bump this, it was going to be Friday because this is also a community showcase week. And so I'm like, well, tomorrow I got to get up and we have events leading up to the podcast and group stream and stuff like that tomorrow. Wednesday's brutal because I've been cutting the podcast that night, Wednesday mornings. And Thursday is the showcase, and I don't like to, I want to get away from doing Cup of Jones right into the showcase. So I was like, probably going to be Friday. But it's nice to get Yeah, the intensity of these lights really like brings out the complexion. Like I've never looked paler than I do currently on Cup of Jones. Hopefully down the road, you can see by how red. Where is it? Can I point to it? This thing. You can see how red that is. That I actually have color. You can see the Mickey. You can see R2. There is color. There's just not a lot of complexity to my face, tonally. So yeah. There's a lot of people exciting in chat. I'm just excited to actually do Cup of Jones because we were maybe not going to do it for a bit. But that's the first time. I'm happy to be, on Mondays consistently. We've hit every Monday since we moved the show, and excited not to push that down to the end of the week because this is a very exciting time for Easy Allies. We got a lot of planning, getting ready to premiere Mysterious Monsters and to get ready for the concert, and it's the beginning of another month, like I said, so we got the showcase and everything. Because we're talking about the full playthrough right now, because we're talking about the showcase right now, I want to mention that Ian is actually going to be out this week, so he's not going to be on the showcase this Thursday. I'm going to find a replacement for the showcase as soon as humanly possible. Amanda actually volunteered, but she has auditions during the day, and so I don't know if she can make it. So I got to go through that list, figure out who the next person would be. But this next showcase is kind of a hot potato. We're originally going to have Brad. Ian filled in. Ian can't make it, so we're going to have somebody else fill in. So yeah, it's a weird showcase this month. Sorry. But that'll still be on Thursday, and I will give you the update on when that's going to happen. Another update that you will get for the month of March will be for our first full playthrough because we hit our 52K tier. We are officially above 52,000 for the month of March. It's confusing because, and I'll always say this, and it will always be confusing because you can see the number of people pledging, but then there's the question of actually what the payouts are, and we gauge all of our tiers based on those payouts, but we actually just hit 52K. 52,500 is the current payout, which is without a doubt the highest payout that we've ever gotten for a month of operation through Patreon, which, considering a lot of our numbers are up right now, obviously hitting 200K on YouTube was a big deal, and that number continues to rise. This is kind of a crazy time for Easy Allies. I say crazy because it's a lot to process. I got a lot of I have an episode of Trailer Jones cut, actually, that I didn't want to put up on Sunday because I put up my Anthem review, and I'm like, I don't want to put Trailer Jones, right on top of that. I think Anthem went up on Saturday, actually, and so meant to put Trailer Jones up yesterday and completely forgot. It's edited, it's exported, I have the Patreon post written, it's ready to go. So just lots going on at Easy Allies, and so apologies that there's not a lot of talk about, more updates that are happening to the studio space. Those updates are happening. A lot of that stuff is tech and sets and lights and stuff like that, props and sets and whatnot for Mysterious Monsters. I want to try to free up as much money as possible for last minute crazy, oh, forgot to get that thing stuff for the anniversary. And then I think it's a really good time because we have a couple months left before E3. I personally don't have a lot of games that I'm signed up for to review in April and May. There's just not a lot going on. There's not a lot of events that we have planned. And so I think it'll be a really exciting time to really start to put into motion a lot of stuff that we talked about at the meeting, a lot of stuff that we talked about last week at our actually last Monday at our meeting to plan for the month of March, and have all of the concert stuff behind us. And I think that'll be a good time to really start investing more. We already have stuff on our list that we want to buy for the studio. And the fact that we hit 52K, the fact that we are excited, really excited to do some kind of full playthrough. We just got to figure out what that game's going to be, who's going to be involved, and when we're going to be showing that. But how exciting on the month of our 3rd anniversary to hit this momentous new goal, to be premiering, the show that is our 55K goal, and to have a lot of fun things planned. A lot of fun things hopefully are coming your way in the month of March that we haven't really been talking about intentionally because it's just various ways we want to celebrate our 3rd anniversary. So and this is the thing about anxiety, is I have a lot of anxiety right now, and a lot of it's good anxiety, and that's the problem with anxiety if you want to vilify it, because it literally just means your body is too amped up about something and you can't control it. I meditated like 3 times before I started this Cup of Jones. Once for a full 5 minutes, I set my timer. It was not enough. I'm just bubbling. It's an exciting time, but also an extremely nervous time. So bear with us with all the messaging and all the posting of all the things. Because man, it is exciting. And yeah, so Trailer Jones as soon as possible, information on that full playthrough as soon as possible, and the info on who's going to be joining me on Thursday for the community showcase for the month of March as soon as possible. Also, before we get into business, I want to write something. I'm going to read something written by Daniel Bloodworth. So Daniel Bloodworth has a little passage for you that I'm kind of get in the right headspace. So this was added to our website. We were going to make a post about this, but then we were like, this is something that we feel we should have. We've talked about it for a while. Blood finally went forward and wrote the thing. And putting it on our website is not that big of a deal, other than as patrons, as, you know, the financial support, the primary financial support, the boardroom of Easy Allies. You should hear this paragraph. So if you go to About Us on EasyAllies.com, you can see this, but I will read it for you now. Easy Allies is an independent media outlet, including critics who have been writing about games for decades. In order to facilitate our coverage, we maintain contacts throughout the video game industry, including major publishers, public relations agencies, and independent developers. These relationships allow us access to advanced copies of games for the sake of review or preview, and in some cases include travel accommodations to see games that are still in development. Coverage of any game remains our sole discretion regardless of access provided by a publisher, including negative coverage or the potential for no coverage whatsoever if we determine something else to be of higher priority. We do not accept payment or gifts in exchange for editorial coverage, especially reviews. In the case that a video game publisher desires to sponsor one of our podcasts, that sponsorship will be limited and clear. Any game included in such sponsorship will be excluded from consideration for reviews and awards. However, we may still discuss in less definitive forms of non-sponsored content. The trust of our audience is of utmost importance to Easy Allies, and we strive to maintain honesty and integrity in all of our editorial coverage. Thank you for your support. So yeah, it was something that I think we've communicated before on Cup of Jones. We've communicated in our reviews, in person, on streams and stuff. But it's just nice to get it down there in black and white because obviously ethics in games media, obviously this is a conversation that comes up again and again. And so it's just nice to be like, you know, point them to the website. If you go to About Us, you can read that any old time you want. And thank you to Bloodworth for writing that down. So Blood adds too many episodes of listening to Hogue Law. Yeah, it's always nice, as Hogue obviously can attest, it's nice to get some stuff down in black and white. And it's nice to read this stuff because some of this is really frustrating because some people just don't believe it. You know, they'll see you, you know, talk about games. I mean, you look at the way I would fawn over things. I'm gonna fawn over like Dreams, or the way I fawned over Red Dead Redemption, or you know, all the fun activities I was involved in Disney Infinity, which is just barely off camera there up top. And so it's nice to put out there that like all of this is for the sake of getting access to these games, to bring you coverage so we can tell you what these games are like. And we try to do as much of that as we possibly can. And one thing I think that actually sticks out for me that I think a lot of people probably don't realize, and that sucks, quite frankly, is we turn down a lot of games. Like there are tons of you know, requests that we get from various people. One thing that I've actually gotten a lot better at in the last couple of years is replying to people by saying, we're not going to cover your game. And what a crappy feeling, you know, like that's why I didn't send those emails earlier, because it just feels bad to be like, this game looks beautiful. This game looks amazing. I wish I had time, but I don't. And so, it's interesting, this weird relationship that we have with publishers, and you know, the hoops that we have to jump through sometime. Review access provided by PlayStation to try to get access to stuff and hopefully bring you stuff. Obviously, as patrons, as supporters, as financiers of Easy Allies, we hear a lot that they're like, you know, embargo is really important to us as, you know, paying members of this community. You know, we want you to get all of these games as early as possible. And sometimes that's within our control, sometimes it's not. But hopefully this not only clarifies potentially to some of you the process of producing editorial content for Easy Allies, but there it is in case you want to read it again, or more importantly, send someone else who has concerns or doesn't believe us. We're like, they wrote it on their website. You have to believe it. It's on the internet. Business questions. Robin Clower. Would it be possible for you to do a bit of an approximate cost breakdown? How much goes to the studio? How much goes to equipment? Do all the allies get paid about the same amount? I know living in California isn't cheap, so even getting $50K a month, 52. You're not living the kings splitting. You're not living like kings, splitting that between 9 people. a bit of an approximate cost breakdown. You will not get a bit of an approximate cost breakdown because that gets into how much we pay for rent for our new studio, how much each of the individual allies makes via salary. Although, you know, if you could just, you know, even dream up some idea in your head and then divide that by 9, you know, there you go. But because all 9 of us do get relatively equal pay, a couple allies do get more for specific things that they do every month. A lot of the boring stuff, a lot of the list making, a lot of the account wrangling, and it sucks. It sucks to start business questions with this one because, and maybe there's a way that we can organize this and do it better in the future. I think possibly an anniversary, or not this anniversary, but it would be fun at some event to kind of like lay out specifically, not $ by $, but what we, you know, how we try to find the medium there is, for example, if you go back and look at a lot of the stuff that Ian and I were building, we don't necessarily say, oh, we spent this much money on this, but we do say what it is. Like we have 2 new couches, they're Landskronas. You can look them up on IKEA and find out how much we, you know, paid for those couches. And so a lot of times we do try to be transparent about the equipment that we're buying because not only obviously is it good to do that for transparency purposes, but it's also fun to talk about like, hey, we looked at all these different pieces of equipment and we eyed this ultimately. But when it comes to like service stuff, when it comes to like how much we spend on software, how much we spend on, you know, servers that we need, how much we spend on even not only the 9 salaries for allies, but if we have any graphic design or we have any other people come in, obviously we're paying people for the concert coming up. But it's just always nice to kind of draw the line, and it's a clear line. Like you will get this response from me every single time this question comes up, that like there will always be that wall between what the stuff that we talk about and the stuff that is hush hush and private, just, you know, for the allies, the easy allies eyes only. But hopefully we can lay that out more. I think one of the other reasons too is like, even though my dad was a CPA, retired now, but was an accountant for many, many years and a very talented one, I am horrible with numbers. And so I wish I was more of a business person so that this call could be much more of a business thing where I could talk about trends and I could talk about percentages and this going up and down, but not good at it. Not even pretending to be good at it. Chris Snow. Any word on a retrospective? It's been a while since the Soul series. It has. I understand there's been a transition and a lot of change, but an update would be helpful as I'm a big fan of your work on these. Any idea which retro would be next? If you hear about a retro, it's happening imminently. Also means it's done. So you will not hear about a retro until the edit has been finished. We have announced previously retros with the idea that like, oh, it's scheduled and this person's really excited to work on it. And then just stuff happens. And there are things that would be much more apparent and I think much more negative about Easy Allies if we stopped doing the podcast group streams and stuff like that. It'd be like, whoa, what's happening to these allies these days? They've just kind of taken all these other things off so that we could finish. Case in point, Kyle taking time off from other responsibilities to finish Box Peak. And so that's why retros just commonly kind of get pushed down. And so we say we're going to do it and then we never do it. And so we're finally doing it, which is we're not going to announce a retrospective until it's completely finished. So one is in production. You will hear about it as soon as it is done. Ray Lawaza, quick questions about full playthrough Fridays. Perfect time. Are they going to be games you beat in one sitting, or are longer games going to be completed in multiple sessions also acceptable? Both. I guess number 2, the second option. So you might see people sit down and be like, hey, here's part 5. Part 5 might not be a week after part 4. It might not be a week before part 6. We might just jump in and be like, okay, getting back to this game, we'll carve out some time to finish it. Or we will play a game in, all the way through. And obviously pick games knowing that we can do that. And so, I got my eye on Journey and similar things. Portal would be fun considering it is now in the Hall of Greats. Yeah, I think it would make sense, considering this is a celebratory month, to do a game this month that we can finish in one sitting. But it would be fun to start a couple new series of trying to get through a game, see how long it takes. Number 2, I know the allies will choose which games they feel like streaming, but would you be open to receiving some suggestions here on Cup of Jones? It won't be on Cup of Jones. It will not be a $1 and above exclusive thing. If we receive suggestions, at least for the first month, we are roughly planning on doing that just via Patreon. But And even if that doesn't necessarily translate directly into the first thing that we play, I think it'll be fun to get everyone's suggestions and see where everybody's at. And we're also exploring options to maybe not take questions through Patreon, to do a Patreon post, but then that links to something else where you can go and suggest games. 3, if not, never mind this, but a live Brandon Plays Pokemon Gold with Kyle would be amazing. We also got Pokemon Sword and Shield coming up. I love that I didn't even have to contact Kyle. If you see his reactions, he's like, who's not going to want to do Sword? And he's like, I'll do Shield. So hopefully I'll get to do Sword and Kyle will do Shield when that comes out. Straw Hat Ninja. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but would you have any interest in doing smaller meet and greets on the East Coast? Yeah, I'll stop you right there, Straw Hat, because yes, we have plans to get there. Those might not come through in the next couple months. They might not come through this year. It just depends on budget. It was something that we were discussing, but just the studio business took over everything, and it's exciting. But that kind of is obviously what 2019 is going to be about. Just really, taking just as much advantage of the studio space as we possibly can. And then we want to travel. We want to travel so bad. And I think it's not only exciting for you all on the East Coast, exciting for me too, because I went to school in Boston, and I love New York, and I love the East Coast, and I love traveling over there, and I love going as far as I possibly can because I'm in California. It's really fun to just go as far as you can and still be in the United States. So I really want that to happen, but also I think would be dynamite for outreach for this company, for us going out and meeting new people and thinking of another reason to be excited about Easy Allies. And so hopefully when, the studio buzz starts to die down, when they're just like, oh, they've been in that studio for 4 months now, hopefully we'll have a plan or have some fun stuff to announce when it comes to travel. But Blood will be at GDC. I know that's San Francisco. That's the wrong coast. But I would love to meet you guys right now, but it's hard for me to get to California from Pennsylvania. I know you are probably sick of hearing people ask for this now because I want it too. But it's something I would really enjoy. Otherwise, I will continue to admire you guys from afar. So however much you want us to get back east, like this is all of you wanting us to get back east. This is me wanting to go back east right above that. Also, I think Amanda and I went to Boston once. Yeah, we did, because some friends of ours got married in Boston. So I have taken Amanda to Boston, but considering how much time I've spent there, and only 4 years, but it was a very important 4 years of my life. I really loved my college experience. I would love to go back, and I would love to document that and meet fans there. Didn't have a lot of fans the first time I went to Boston with Amanda. Daniel Garza Andrade, on the last podcast that you weren't there, it was a very funny one. What did you think about watching it and seeing what Kyle and Ian did with Blood acting like he was you? I thought it was very funny to get Blood unaware and catch him off guard. You have to get up very early in the morning to catch Blood off guard. You have to potentially not sleep to catch Blood off guard. Blood was not caught off guard. Again, Cuppa Jones seems to be kind of like, it's like I'm behind the magic. I'm just kind of pulling the curtain back. They had that set up. I actually had planned to do a background for podcast halftime and then do the voiceover because I was up in San Francisco playing Days Gone. And I messaged Ian and Kyle through Slack and was like, oh, so I'm just going to put a background there. And Ian was like, no. He's like, we had Blood record just walking or looking around while you were reading podcast halftime. And so not only did I have to edit around that, which actually was shorter in length than podcast halftime, I had to bring in B-rolls for some other things to cover Ben, because Ben walked behind Blood to go to get a drink or something and then walked behind Blood again, and I wanted to cut that out. But Blood did a fantastic job of just kind of looking like he was in one of the Brady Bunch. Ooh, speaking of the Brady Bunch, why have we never done that at Easy Allies? There's 9 of us. We got to do the Brady Bunch thing. Maybe we'll do that for the concert. You know what I mean? The Easy Allies. Da, da, da. But yeah, it was fun. I like podcast. I sucks when I miss the podcast, but I like listening to the podcast. It's a weird thing to be like, oh yeah, the Easy Allies podcast. I have no idea what they're about to say. I don't know what the bet is. I don't know what the bit at the beginning is. I know what podcast halftime is going to sound like, and that's about it. And then like I'm in the middle and like Sophie and Amanda pop up like near the end, and like it'd be great. Daniel Rona, my housemate and I have directly opposed views on the new studio. I love the clean and professional look, whereas he misses the memorabilia and visual noise that broke up the background. Baby's first studio has been a term thrown around, much to my chagrin. A good dig, Daniel. Tell your roommate it's a good dig. I've tried to assuage his fears by talking about how you've mentioned that the current setup is more of a stepping stone to a more personalized look and feel down the line, and that your first priority was, and still is, to simply get the studio functional and comfortable. But alas, this hasn't been enough to stop his winging? I think it might be whining, but he wrote winging. I was hoping you could say a small piece as to how finalized the look of the studio and streaming space is, and to what level are things able to change moving forward. Okay, let's talk about both stages. Streaming stage, windows, got to be cleaned up. Couch in the back, probably going to get a bigger couch. Chairs on the side, we're going to get fabric chairs and not the fold-out chairs. Wall in the back, that is brick. Brick is hardcore. We could bolt shelves into that brick, but there's no temporary shelving situation. You either put shelves on there or you don't. And if there is a temporary shelving situation, that would involve a little bit more construction skill than we have here at the Allies. That is more money. That's another person to hire and come in, and just something that we're like, not that important to spend money on. I would love to get tchotchkes back there. I would love to get, we actually had a couple items come in recently that we might potentially be putting somewhere in the studio, and they might go back there, possibly having nails up there that we can replace with picture frames. Not sure how glossy a glass would be or how we have to present images if we're going to do it that way. But yeah, I think the streaming space is, oh, there's also, I don't know if you can really tell, but from the back arm, if this is like the back couch and this is the wall, like windows are over here, there's a big space. There's a big chunk. You can fit like 4 or 5 people standing back there. And so I've thought about maybe putting like a lamp back there, maybe putting like a big tall shelving unit. I don't know if that would really stand out or be weird. It's tricky. It's tough to spend like $80, $100 on something and then have it just be stupid. Be like, oh. But what's nice is if it's stupid, then we can, well, we'll put it in the, the office, and that'll be a shelving unit that we have in the office for like staplers and stuff. So there is more money that we want to spend. It's tough because January was the big construction budget. February was the big furniture budget. March is like the concert, and a lot of changes that are just coming to Easy Allies anyways, that we will be talking about in the next couple weeks. But I want to spend more money on the studio. It's really bad. We actually have space in the budget right now to spend, but I'm just saving it because I want to just get past that concert and make sure that we were prepared for whatever comes up. But it'll be exciting in April and May to spend a little bit more money on the studio, and that brings us to the main stage. Damiani has talked a little bit about this on Friendcode, but he wants to get stands for the finest tchotchkes, for statues and helmets and crazy stuff that he has, maybe like encased in glass or something, which I'm sure would reflect horribly all over the place. But he wants to add some kind of a Toy Story flair to Friendcode. I've talked about possibly having a projector on the back of the streaming stage with the lights being as bright as they are. I don't know if that would show up at all, or would those would be placed, if they would be high up pointed down or down low pointed up. And we've also talked about, which is probably the more likely solution, which is bringing in two more. Well, we do have a television in there, but you can't see it. Bringing in 2 televisions on stands that can go on the opposite corner. I think it would probably make sense to have those by E3. And then those would basically be on wheels. And so if we were going to use them for the podcast, great. If not, we would wheel them off and have them on the side whenever we shoot stuff in there. So off the top of my head, those are definite improvements that are coming. And keep in mind, we want Gundam shelves. Yeah, we'll get there. Again, it's Gundam shelves would be wonderful, but it's just low. All of you give us a lot of money. We're trying to spend it responsibly. And that doesn't include furniture for the green room, table and chairs so people can actually sit down. I had like sushi in the green room the other day, and I just like sat on the couch. So it'd be nice like to have a table and sit down and eat meals. To get drawers we can put knives and forks in and stuff. Get 2 more sets of shelves for the library so we can put, because we had more stuff than we thought we needed. Shelves for to put drinks and Cokes and Mountain Dews on that'll go into the fridge. Shelves to put in the bathroom to put paper towels and cleaning supplies and stuff like that on. And I think maybe another desk for the office. So that's like the next batch of stuff that we're going to get. And then I think after that, we'll maybe take a longer look at the stage if we haven't already purchased those televisions or stands for Damiani, especially the streaming stage, and kind of keep an eye on like, how can we gloss this up? But I don't hate Gundam. All these rumors in chat going by that I hate Gundam. But there you go. I don't think you should win that argument with your roommate, Daniel Rona. I think your roommate has points. Hopefully your roommate sticks around and keeps following Easy Allies. Trooper, hearing you guys talk about having several extra game codes sent to you gave me an idea. Would you be interested in having giveaways of your extra game codes? Maybe on group stream nights or exclusively on Patreon every once in a while, depending on how many you have, or the codes mostly for review media purposes that you cannot hand out that. We used to hand out codes on GT Live, and that was really fun, but those codes that were given us to hand out on GT Live were given to us with the intent of handing out on GT Live. Like, they knew not only they were giving us those codes, but exactly where we were going to give out those codes, and then we would, like, even take the episode and send it back to them and be like, here's the episode where we sent those codes out, here are the people that won, and here was our coverage, basically, of your game. And so it's not a big deal, but it was like another step of my job that hopefully we can get back to if we have Allies Live or whatever it ends up being called. Alexander Zirianov, now that Cup of Jones is on Monday, will you consider returning Community Showcase back to morning? It would be nice for the European audience to be able to watch it live so that they can write in and chat if their comment is skipped. I can't remember if Community Showcase ever made it to 10 a.m. 10 a.m. is a little rough, just driving-wise, but I think we can maybe swing noon. I'll shoot for noon this week. I'll check in, whoever's going to be there. So yeah, sorry, Blood, if that's already at, I think 2 p.m. was originally when we had it scheduled, but yeah, I can bump that up. Zoldark, regarding the microphone for Cup of Jones, this little guy, here's a YouTube link with the time code, or if you want to go back and watch the old episode, it's at 55 minutes and 53 seconds. On the word infatuated, you should be able to hear the audio issue that keeps reoccurring with this microphone. When listening back through speakers, it's not very audible, but when listening with my headphones, it sounds similar to a compression artifact. Even if you can't fix it right away, an acknowledgement that there is an issue would go a long way. So yeah, this happened last episode. I don't know if it was in previous episodes. I don't know if it's this mic. I don't know if it's the mic cable. I don't know if it's something going on with my new computer. I don't know. I just set everything up and plugged everything in, and I'm getting this weird. It's like, yeah. It sounds like it's like compression. It's like something didn't render correctly, which is weird having happened live, and it's weird considering literally Cup of Jones, this stream on this PC is the first thing I've ever done with this microphone. And it's just like it's not working. So after I heard that, I unplugged everything and plugged it back in, but we will see. Just don't say infatuated, says Bradley Spees in chat. That's an excellent suggestion. Yep, again, just another mic, a better mic, a mic that's not just like, like streaming mic 101. Would be nice to possibly get rid of that. Dingle D. I recall Bossman and Damiani playing through Link to the Past for a segment along the lines of Settle It to convince Bossman that it was better than he gave it credit for. This seemed to die quickly, which I assume was due to ideas. I also recall Ben and Huber giving a go at God Hand, since Huber had never played it and Ben thought he would thought he would like it. I thought it would be neat to try to combine these two and create some content where an ally has a shot to convince another ally to pick up a game to play, or otherwise push it to the top of the backlog. For example, Huber could sit down with one of you and try to convince you to start the Yakuza 0 ASAP, or Bossman could try to convince an ally to play Mega Man Legends. Just thought I would drop an idea. Dingle D, that idea has been discussed now at several meetings. I think it's tough because it's kind of like Brandon plays Pokemon, and we've talked about this before about the, just kind of capturing lightning in a bottle, like that perfect storm of this person wants to do it, this person wants that other person to do it, they have the time, and we're also not like hungry for new show ideas. We are adding more streams to the schedule than I think we have before, especially group streams utilizing the studio now, but this is tough because it's not something we can just kind of force somebody to do. I think it works best when you have an ally relationship that is just perfect. So obviously, Bossman and I want to cover the next Pokemon game in some fun way because we've had a lot of fun doing that in the past, but might not work with our schedules, might not work with how the game is released, might not work just, for lots of weird reasons. So it's tough to create a show like that. We'd have to maybe meet for a weekend and shoot all the episodes at once because it's tough to commit to something like that. That's my problem with Don't Skip, is that I don't have a lot of games that really factor into that specific zone of don't have time to review it, but I think you should play it and check it out. Because a lot of times when I do have games like that, then I'm like, well, I'm not going to review that, but I really think it's great and I think you should check it out. Another ally will swoop in and review it. And so, yeah, it's a tough one to commit to, but it's an idea that we've talked about a lot. So, and apologies when I say we talked about something a lot where everyone's like, ooh, that's happening. Just means we talked about it. Joey and Kate, I enjoy the long episodes of Cup of Jones since I'm fortunate enough to work at a job where I'm able to listen to podcasts. Nice. While I work, but this has got me wondering about the future of Cup of Jones. As EZA continues to grow and more people decide to join the community, Cup of Jones also continues to grow in length. And although I enjoy the long episodes, will there eventually be a cutoff if, say, the average Cup of Jones becomes 5 hours or longer each time? Yes, I will. A quick answer for this that I think would be an easy solution. There are lots of repeated questions. There are lots of, when people check it, lots of like short questions. Are you guys doing retros? Technically, I could answer that by saying one is in production. Just done. That's the sentence finished. And so I think maybe what might happen in the future of Cup of Jones is when a Cup of Jones post goes up, it'll be half text. I can certainly think of times where I might be super busy and not able to do an audio Cup of Jones, but I still want to weigh in. And so Cup of Jones might move into a sometimes recorded, sometimes live, sometimes text format. And even when it's recorded and or live, there would be a text component as well. And so if you watch the episode and you're like, oh, my question didn't get answered, you'd go to the text post and be like, oh, he just had a very short answer. Or he directed me to a previous episode where that question had already been answered or mentioned, like, I've already answered that before. Here's the short response. And then save the comments that I think haven't been mentioned in a while or start a really good conversation topic or touch on something that I want to express. Those will be the ones that'll be in each episode. Jesse Blue, I had a dream the other night where I was able to buy tickets for a live touring EZA show here in Chicago and about 6 to 8 other large cities across the US and Canada, but was disappointed when I woke up and it wasn't true. And then I thought, hey, that would actually be really cool. What do you think it would take just dreaming here to actually make that happen? $75K a month, $100K a month. Would love to hear your take. It depends on where we go, but I mean, yeah, you're talking thousands and thousands when with all the tickets for everybody. So 9 people, you know, to each city. Yeah, I think it would maybe be in between 75 and 100K. I think we could swing it for 75K, but obviously if we were to make that extra special. But the problem doing that through Patreon is we're not going to do that every month. We're not going to do that every year. And so it's weird to have that one-time thing and then we do a tour and then we're at that level and it's like, yeah, we're not doing anything else. But hey, thanks for helping us get to 100K. So it's tricky. Is that like a Kickstarter project? Is that, you know, some kind of fundraising stream that we do? How do you account for what money gets spent on what and where do you go? So I think, I imagine how crappy you would feel if we were like, hey, here's our fundraising tier to travel. And then you're in like Chicago and Chicago's up here and it goes like, it's like just short of Chicago. And you're like, ah! And so like later you post the next week, you're like, when are you coming to Chicago? And we're like, hey man, we just did a whole fundraising stream. You're like, I know, but like you're going to all the cities except the one city that I'm closest to. So yeah, it's a tricky thing because it just seems, however I try to conceive something like that, somebody is not only going to be disappointed, but like maybe hurt or frustrated. And that's not what we want to do. So. And not something we have the time or finances to do right now. But man, is it overdue, and do I want to do it? Alex Castellanos, as I'm listening to this week's Cup of Jones, you're commenting on the difficulty of hanging shotgun microphones in the streaming space due to the wide camera shot that you have during the group stream. You mentioned not wanting booms hanging in the room obstructing the view of the back couch. I have a suggestion that may or may not work for that space. Choir mics. Choir mics are mini condenser cardioid mics, half an inch or so, and usually hang or are suspended from a thin cable and could provide you with the desired soundtrack that you're looking for. Oh, yeah! Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I am by no means an audio engineer, so there may be some unknown reasons why this isn't the best option, but in my experience with churches, those things pick up the room pretty well without blocking the view. It may be worth checking out. Thoughts? Yeah. Here's my first thought. Choirs sound different than podcasts and group streams, that's for sure. So the kind of echoiness, where you're like, wow, this was recorded in a gigantic room, does not work well for us just, you know, hearing us on one level and then the game audio slightly under another level. But yeah, I will throw that at Ian. And yeah, I don't think we're at the point where we're ready to buy new mics. Honestly, if we were going to buy new mics, I wouldn't buy mics because I'm not that frustrated with the way that room sounds. I think it's okay. I am frustrated with the way that the main stage sounds, and so I want to buy. We obviously have the soundproofing coming in like any day now, and it's gonna be fun to set that stuff up. And but at the same time, I want to get new mics. And those are, hey, if you want specific approximate numbers, I think those mics are $350. So that's $350 times 5 that we would have to get for the stage. This is just like kind of topsy-turvy, and it's making me nervous. Let me sit up there. There we go. Right there. Okay. All right. Joe Frantic, over the last few weeks, I've heard you mention some new equipment what you would like for the studio. Smaller items in the range of $50, a few $100s. Is there a way that we could purchase them on your behalf, like a new studio registry? I'm willing to buy items you guys want for the studio. I could just up my Patreon pledge, but I would rather just buy what you guys need. No credit is ever given, but I'd like to help out if possible. Joe, we mentioned this before. We might do this eventually. I think it's the wrong time to ask for money for anything right now. I think it's inevitable in the course of Easy Allies for you to expect that there is a fundraiser right around the corner. There's going to be some time that we're going to ask for money for something specifically. So save that money. You will get that chance if you're willing to spend that money, and I certainly appreciate it. It's tough for things for the studio because some of the purchases we are budgeting for ahead of time and buying, and then they're shipping at a certain date, and then we open them and enjoy them. And other things we are just like running to the store last minute and getting because it's like, oh, we need this cable or we need this dumb thing. So we're nervous about specifically putting up a registry and then needing to buy something like that ahead of time and then buying something that somebody already bought for us. Like, we want to make that a big shout, call out, hey, we need these things and are not going to buy them and not have them until you get them for us, or another system that could account for any of that crossover. But yeah, without somebody monitoring it, says Eric Greenberg, it would be difficult. But Joe, thank you. You have no idea, Joe. I really appreciate that. Steve S. Any chance you and Brad could do an episode 9 prediction special? I think this would be fun to see where you guys think the franchise is going and revisit it in December after the movie comes out. Yeah, that would be good. It'd be a good thing to get done maybe before the trailers come out, because then that kind of taints it, where we're like, whoa, based on the trailer, we have these ideas. I would love to do that for the Avengers. More than the Avengers and Star Wars, I would love to do that. For Game of Thrones. I think it would be really great, especially with Damiani. Damiani's got some hot takes. And it's interesting. Game of Thrones is interesting because like I have ideas about how it's going to end, but they're not like I've done my research and this is, I have such a clear vision for like how it's going to work out. And so it's not like I'm right. Like I might not be right. I don't know. I would love it if that show gets just completely wacky and does some crazy spiritual stuff that like nobody's expecting. But from where it's going, I think I can see kind of like how it's going to wrap up. So that would be fun. And we should do that as soon as possible. So yeah, I will suggest that. And remember that, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I wonder if those should be exclusive, because they're kind of spoiler mode-y. Red Sky, on last week's Cup of Jones, you talked about how you were most excited about live content and how streaming has evolved since the GT days. How would you like to see Easy Allies continue to move forward in this space? Are there any specific goals you have from a live content perspective now that you guys have settled into the new studio? How do you feel about the VOD experience for viewers that miss out on watching live with chat and watch on Twitch VODs or Easy Allies plays instead? I love the combination of both your produced shows and live streaming content, and would love to get your thoughts on how you foresee this balance moving in the future and how you'd like to see those two things cross over or evolve as Easy Allies continues to grow. This could totally be editorial worthy. Red Sky, I am so pumped about live. I think Easy Allies is in a position to do more exciting things with live than more exciting things with our videos. As you can tell, whenever we produce retrospectives or Box Peek, these things take a lot of time. They're delayed extensively, and whereas live, you just do it live. And I know a lot of people, like Ripley Improv, the group that my wife works in, that are fantastic at live. That, I know a lot of actors in LA that can do live, in a heartbeat. And so I'm really excited to test the boundaries of the interest of our Twitch channel. I'm interested in do things like live reads of scripts. If somebody wrote a script, then we can cast characters and we can do a live read and test and see what chat thinks of the script. To do theater live, to do improv, to do long form narrative improv or sketch based improv, to do tabletop and to play board games and to do card games, to do long extended things, to bring in other groups and try them out on our Twitch channel, to be like, hey, these people don't have their Twitch channel yet, but they're thinking of starting this show. We have a stage. We're not using it 24 hours a day. And so I'm excited to introduce other people to Easy Allies. Obviously, as we grow, I think there's got to be some kind of ceiling that you hit where you're like, oh, it's just the 9 of them? Okay. You're like, I'm a woman. It'd be nice to have a woman on, like, it'd be nice to have a little more diversity amongst that group. And so it'd be nice to, it's scary to increase our editorial voice. It's scary to think of another person coming in and writing a review for us because we try to keep a really, close-knit group when it comes to how we manage our opinions and how we try to put our best foot forward whenever we like put an editorial stamp on something. When it comes to live, a lot of times, we, our best is just what's happening in the moment. And so I think there's just a lot of fun opportunities. Oh, no. I said Amanda Troop and Ripley, and you heard, and you're coming in?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, well, I guess I need to stop in.
I almost didn't do Cup of Jones, man. I almost wasn't here.
Because YouTube?
YouTube has some problems. But yeah.
Problems.
I love the way you hold your cup. I love your...
It's too heavy. It's just a giant cup, and I'm a tiny person.
And you got your bag on. Are you like going? Are you ready?
I just got home.
Oh, you just got home. Oh, okay.
Out. Powerpuff Girl. What are these? Sweatpants. Fierce Spam Girl Club sweatshirt. Working out.
So what's that? You just talking Game of Thrones?
I'm just hoping that if you do a thing with the Game of Thrones,
yeah, you'll definitely be
I'm on
that.
it because I have opinions.
I know you do.
And actually, I'm gonna start re-listening to all the audiobooks,
which is insane. Which is madness because
like,
they're so dense and there's so much going on in those books that are not going on in the show. You're gonna be so confused.
Each book is at least like 40 hours. Some of them are 40 hours of audiobook, I think.
Okay.
Maybe I'm
you
wrong.
have to make a promise to me right now because you decided to come in and talk about that. You need to make a promise to Brandon Jones right here on this show.
To Brandon Jones?
Yes. That after every
Brandon
episode...
Jones is here?
Yes. That after every episode of Game of Thrones...
Yeah.
You will not be like, well... Technically, they should have mentioned Strong Belwas in that scene. I'll be like, will you stop it with the books?
No,
I don't want to hear...
I can't promise that. I think that's what I'll bring to the...
You can let me know things that'll happen, but don't be critical of the show for not mentioning stuff in the books based on characters that were never even in the show, because...
I don't think you can edit me in that way.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I just think, just get through this season and then go back. Then you read the books. No. Then the show's over.
No.
Then you buy the Blu-rays and you just forget about it forever until you want to go back later, Return of the King style, and just drop them in.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks. When
the audiobooks,
I don't know even what to say about
the audiobooks of Game of Thrones are incredible. Roy Dotrice is
can't edit the Amanda.
Absolutely phenomenal.
It's easy enough to be critical of the show for their own failings. It's true, but here's the thing: is I find that the information from the books enriches my viewing experience. So I'm not gonna not talk about that stuff if I find that it's edifying.
Then I respect you, Amanda, because I can't do that. It's too much.
I need it.
There's a book that ends with characters that aren't even on the show, but some are alive, and then the show kills them, and then the show goes on and makes other things happen. Yeah, people die on Game of Thrones.
Spoilers.
Dun dun dun.
Wait.
Sad things happen. Do you remember that sad thing that happened in season 6, man? That was crazy. When those people were there and then they were dead, I was like, whoa! Oh, boy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll have you on that.
Yay!
Okay. And will you, Ripley's, come in and do something live for us, please?
Can I just come,
they want to know what the future of live is.
The future of live?
Within Easy Allies. What's the future of live? What are we doing? You're
gosh.
coming in. We're doing it live.
If you have Ripley in, then what we'll do is we'll do an improvised show based on a suggestion. Yeah. So I guess it depends on what kind of show you want.
Yeah.
And then we would probably workshop the genre of the show. So if it's like a gaming specific thing. There's a bunch of Ripleys that are doing Rat Queens RPG over on Hyper RPG. Which you should add to your viewing schedule, but don't watch Easy Allies less. But we have a bunch of Ripleys on that show.
I got a tweet earlier today that I love, and I want to shout out to them. But have you seen Critical Role today?
No.
So I don't even know where it is right now, but they put up a $750,000 Kickstarter to do an animated show based on previous I think it's based on their old season, but it's like a new arc that they wrote.
Wow.
That like a famous like animated TV writer wrote basically a TV show of Critical Role, and they had a $750,000 goal, and it was like 1.2 million, I think, before I started. And like literally, you go to Kickstarter, and it's just brrr, like it's just going by to the tickers, just running.
So, are you recommending that we do that?
Well, it's just I'm trying to think of why.
I know I'm curious.
Well, you're doing your own crowdfunding thing through Ripley.
We are. We have our films
You're
that
putting your
we're
movie on,
in
so-
post production on.
I had a very specific point.
I don't know. Someone mentioned that I should be on the showcase this week.
Oh,
It's Ray.
Oh, nice. You just might have to be, but you
I mean-
you might have auditions that day. You don't know.
Well, I could do it as a what is it? A pinch hitter.
Yeah,
I mean, we just find out the night before.
yeah.
And then if I have auditions, I'm like, oh, sorry.
Well, but some people like to leave posts for the showcase for the person on the couch. So the earlier we can let them know, the
and
longer
how long
time they
does the
have.
showcase take?
Like 3-4 hours.
Well, then maybe I have an audition. I go do it and come and join later.
Okay.
I'm just.
I mean
saying-
that holds true for any showcase.
Right, I'm just-
you
well,
can stop
I'm-
by anytime you want.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. It'd be
Yeah.
neat. I could bring my parents. My parents.
Your parents have been live before.
My mom.
Did your dad didn't do live?
No, I don't think so.
Nice.
Yeah.
He likes to rock those Easy Ally shirts.
And yeah, I think Aliens would be a good Ripley genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a thread with that Critical Role thing,
I
but
think it was something about how you think I'm so wonderful.
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. That's what I think too. Well,
High five, man troop, everybody.
high five.
Sync test.
Sync. I know my parents are actually coming into town. They're not a bit. They're just real people
They are a bit.
that are gonna come stay with us.
They're a bit much.
Get that out of your system. My parents are gonna be here soon.
I can call your parents a bit much to their face, though.
You can.
Yeah, we got a good relationship.
Yeah.
I'm a bit much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. We all are.
I think we're done here.
Okay, bye. I know, but you don't have enough chairs, so it's actually very uncomfortable.
I'm sorry. See, chairs. Put it on the list. I need to get more things.
What we need to do is set up this space so we can, stream.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
You know.
live.
You know.
Back to live.
Oh, is that what you were going to bring up earlier?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're talking about the future of live.
All right. I think I've taken up enough time. Do you want to get back to the questions?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Because this episode's late and my leg hurts.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to make it and work out with Sean today if I can.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool.
Called Sean and I was like, Cubba Jones is late. The patrons need me. He was like, let me know.
Yeah. And then Brandon gets in the Batmobile and goes.
I wish. That'd be so cool.
And like, I'm done with
I
Cubba
wouldn't be able to
Jones.
park it at that place, though.
It would just.
That's the problem with the Batmobile. It's like, where does he park, man? He just parks in alleyways.
He can park it
And then
on
what
the
if you're
side
like,
of the
what if you
building.
work in an what if you like,
You can park it on the roof.
what if you can't park it on the Batmobile on the roof?
Yeah. It's
He
got
did that in Batman
wings.
Begins and he's like destroyed those roofs.
Well, that Batmobile was not.
Does anybody feel for that church in Batman Begins? Does anybody care?
I feel for all of that stuff. I feel for all of the things that are destroyed by accident by superheroes. I think that that's an issue.
I saw the Matrix trilogy recently, and like I love how many people just are, die in the Matrix trilogy, and they're just like, "Whoa, hey, blew up that building. Oh well."
Yeah, it has
You're
under
like,
control. You could just send it back home, and then summon it again later. 5 minutes before the workout, you.
I think I've talked about this before on Cuppa Jones, but I believe the Batmobile is impractical. There, I said it. I think Batman has a tank. I don't think he drives it as much as you think he does, because that's ridiculous.
I just want. Shock.
I think if Batman with all of his tech and all of his gadgets and everything is at Wayne Manor and sees the signal go up, the Batmobile is the worst way to get to Gotham.
What's the best way?
To fly.
It flies.
The Batwing flies. The Batmobile doesn't fly.
There's a version
You
of the
can't
Batmobile
just-
that has wings.
I think there's a toy that they released, or maybe in like the 70s.
I'm saying
it did,
you want
but
the one that flies.
okay.
It's a car and a plane and a boat.
There you go, and it hovers and it turns invisible and it phases through reality.
It does.
There we go.
If
Solve
you're
it,
gonna
folks.
have the Batmobile, have the best Batmobile.
You heard it here first. The best movie.
Goodbye.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
People said they admired my complexion. Look how pasty I am. I'm
no,
Cubba Jones. Look
no,
how
I
bright
think you look-
with the light right there.
You look glowy and beautiful and freshly shaved.
I'm 40 years old. I'm like the 40-year-old version. Like,
nice.
all right.
Nice.
When is this?
Bye.
YouTube's holding me back. Amanda's holding me back. I will finish this episode, damn it.
You can try.
I'm going to try right now by moving on.
What, next week?
Red Sky, you couldn't have asked
week?
for a longer answer, so I'm going to move on to the next one.
Cup of Jones.
What? Yes, I know. It never stops.
Bye.
Bye. Sadiq Baksh. Do you have anyone lined up to review Left Alive? The game looks amazing and features Yoji Shinkawa, Metal Gear Solid, as the art and character design director. Just curious, as I believe this game is going to be a dark horse. No one is expecting to be good. Just like Nier Automata, I think it'll blow everyone away. Sadiq popped in later with a later response saying, I previously left a question about Left Alive and if you had anyone reviewing it, and how I thought it would be a dark horse kind of game. After a couple of days, I no longer think this. So if you answered that question and didn't have someone reviewing it, no worries, man, all good. It was a journey, that one comment. Ben Moore was assigned that game. Ben's working on a lot of stuff. Ben, when we gave him the code, it did not sound like that was going to be reviewed. Sounds like possibly a stream, possibly just a comment on Frame Trap, but most likely not a review. Andrew Burt had a suggestion for full playthrough Friday, since you mentioned you guys might play games. That you check in again with periodically. XCOM 2 War of the Chosen I feel like would be perfect for this, especially with Ben in the commander seat and every ally having a character created for the mission squads. Having the tension ramp up with each decision made and each squad member death would be a cool ongoing stream. Thoughts? Definitely. I'll suggest that. That's fun. It'd be fun if we were all like emotionally tied to those characters. So that, like, if one of those characters died, the official Easy Allies account had to, like, tweet at us and say, like, you're dead, I'm sorry. We're like, no! You know, like, we all got to react. Jeremy Ferris, will there be a spoiler mode on the Detective Pikachu movie? Count on it. Jeffrey White, how was the Easy Allies mega sponsor? It's in May, I believe. How was the Easy Allies podcast mega sponsor Echo Sound created? And our mega sponsor, I think it's incredible that the echo effect accurately conveys your voice in whatever pitch you say that phrase at, like it's actually reverberating across the studio. Jeffrey, I'm so glad that you think that, because that's like the easiest thing. I apply and I clip right when I go hour, right in between hour, I clip out, and then after I say mega sponsor, in that pause before I start talking, I clip it again, or cut, the audio clip, and then I put a just regular audio dissolve on the front and end, and then I add an effect to the clip in the middle called Studio Reverb. And if you add that in Adobe Premiere, if you go down to all the parameters, there's one called Decay, which, according to my understanding, is how the distance between all the various times you're hearing that echo. And then it starts on, like, if this is the slider, it's like here, I just go, whoop, move it over. I do that every time, every week. And it's literally like this. I just thought it was like reverb. There's an effect called reverb, and I put it on there, and I was like messing with all the parameters. I'm like, oh, that sounds all right. So I'm happy that is as epic as you have described. Hank Grodendijk. In the future, will we see a series called Brandon Sword, Kyle Shield? No promises at all. I would love to do that. I think that would be a fun stream. It's so far off. I don't think we even have a release date, do we? But can't plan for something like that. Toasty, that was in a different time of Easy Allies. Toasty Soul, after listening to you talk about seeing all the allies doing their thing in the studio, it made me realize something that would really excite me with the new studio is seeing some sort of vlog. I would just love watching a one-time video about a day in the studio life, especially after hearing your story on walking in and seeing the allies. Made me want to just see that myself. Is there any interest from the allies for this kind of content? Yes. I think because we're still getting used to the function of the studio and just kind of the vibe of being there on various days. Yeah, it would be fun to post behind the scenes stuff. Case in point, Easy Allies doesn't have an Instagram account. We're terrible at documenting our stuff beyond actually officially recording things. It's kind of like the little, this is why shout out to Kind of Funny. Like all the people at Kind of Funny do a much better job of that. Shout out to Tim Geddes, who just got engaged, and his engagement was just like a whole viral, thing that they, we kept recycling and kept coming up again, various like Photoshops and re-edits and stuff. And so we should do more of that. Hopefully we will. Christopher Peterson, On episode 150, a fellow ally shared stats regarding the series. It was revealed of the Easy Allies podcast. It was revealed the most questions answered on a single episode was 6. This felt extremely low to me since sometimes hundreds of questions are asked. Some are submissions for bits. I love the show and talking points Kyle puts together, but would like to see a bigger community involvement. Sometimes only one question is pulled from the community, which makes me sad. My suggestion would be 1, a minimum of 5 questions from the community per episode. 2, once a quarter, an episode is made where every question asked is answered. Don't pre-announce it because then the episode would be swamped. Question 1 is definitely not going to happen because we never know how much news we're going to have each week or what other things we're going to want to talk about or the quality of the questions that we get in relation to what the episode's going to be like. Number 2 sounds nice, as in something nice that we could do. Sometimes we want to do some nice things. Sometimes we don't have time. Sometimes we don't like being nice. The thing is, Chris, with Christopher, with that tier of people submitting their questions, is when you are at the $5 tier, you primarily get the Easy Allies podcast early. And then you also get the chance to submit a question, and you also get the chance to a love and respect question, and you also get the chance to submit something if Kyle is doing a bit at the beginning. So you get 3 things for that. 2 of those are opportunities to be included in the show. And so I'm not, when it comes to a fun idea, I will put it on that list. When it comes to like a nice thing that we could do for people, I will put it on that list. But when it comes to the value that you get from not only getting the Easy Allies podcast early, but getting other things early as well at the $5 tier, I'm not so worried about decreasing value or people. I know it makes you sad, but I'm not worried about those people because I think unless it's a very timely question, unless it's asking something that like just happened, which, you know, sometimes increases or decreases your odds of getting in the podcast itself. Some of those are fun games. Some of those are things that are evergreen. That some of those are things that talk about the history of games or from a retro perspective. And so some of those aren't necessarily like I asked this week and then it has no value the following week. So for a lot of reasons, I'm not overly concerned about making sure everybody gets included in all those things. But I do like the idea, and I think we haven't done that in a while, just doing a Love and Respect exclusive episode. I think we had an idea for a fun episode over the holiday break and didn't do that. And it'd be nice, especially at the end of the year, to maybe look back at some of the more fun questions that we got that we didn't get a chance to do and just do a Love and Respect episode. So apologies that didn't come through. And your concerns are noted, Christopher. Maggie Frere, in the last Cup of Jones, you talked about possibly hiring someone just to watch over chat and work the group streams. This made me think of Damiani in his role. Most of the time during the streams, that is what he manages. When he decided to join with EZA, was he hired to take on that role? Or is that just something he decided to take on himself? Or is he just the most comfortable behind the salad mic? I hadn't really thought about the roles that each person plays within EZA until you were talking about what another person would be hired to do. Yes, I also managed that a lot. I don't manage that a lot anymore because a lot of streams are managed. Like when Ian and Sophia went in and played Civilization, no one was at that desk. And so sometimes I would be at the desk just because I lived here and I would be... It's weirder and weirder week by week. Then I'm like, yeah, all this stuff is happening at the office and I'm not directly a part of it. But Damiani definitely moved himself into that role. Like that's something that we were just talking about live, and Damiani is more than any of us, I think, really obsessed with Twitch, really obsessed with how to maximize not only the platform, but the way the tech is run through. We actually just had a widget. I think our scheduling widget is no longer in production or no longer supported, and so we're trying to figure out a way to display, because there's not a lot of the widgets that we like. Damiani's trying to figure out a way to display that on our Twitch page, because we had a nice little fun image on there with our schedule that's not there anymore. So all of that stuff is primarily run through Damiani, just based on interest and talent and experience. And I think Damiani definitely streams probably the most out of any of the allies, which is interesting because he doesn't put himself on camera a lot when we're on group streams. But yeah, and not only is that something that's of interest to him, I definitely would trust him more than anybody when it comes to setting stuff up on Twitch. So, and that's been the interesting thing, and the thing that still kind of evolves over the years with Easy Allies. So I was distracted by a Blood comment. I was wondering why I could hear my own messages, says Blood. I'm not sure what that means. as Easy Allies goes on, part of assigning responsibility is finding the right person for something and then asking them to do something and then giving them that job. And the other part is somebody stepping up and saying, hey, I would like to do this retrospective. I would like to do this web series. I would like to do this stream, and trying to find a happy medium, because as we've always said, and as I have repeatedly said on Cup of Jones, I think the more interested we are in the stuff that we're doing, the better content that we're producing for our audience. So yeah, that's Damiani in a nutshell. Paulu, I was wondering if if it would make sense to include the current status of the Patreon more in its promotion. What I mean is that have a graphic on the current dollar amount and what it's missing until the next goal is hit, from a bar similar to how you did for the Better Stuff before the E3 fundraiser. The reason I'm asking this is everything I've seen, from everything I've seen, a lot of people feel a psychological satisfaction for filling bars. I mean, yeah, certainly as people play video games. Understandable. Putting up the graphic with the promotion on the podcast or having it be part of the stream overlay might work as an effective indirect to call to get you closer to whatever the next big thing is. Of course, I understand that given that it's not a guarantee that it would do anything, that the setup would require some setup work to automate the process as much as possible, something that creates the current graphic by calling the Patreon API for the current dollar amount and blends the provided graphics together and spits out a new image. Alternatively, this might be more work than just having a Photoshop prepped from a non-programmer point of view. It's far from a priority, but even without that setup, it might be worth considering to consistently show how close you guys are to the next thing in the spoken promotions on the podcasts. Yes, we're talking about fundraisers. Obviously, you need graphics like that for fundraisers. We've implemented stuff like that in the past. It would be fun if there was some kind of Patreon information displayed on our website. We've talked about that, possibly integrating Patreon into the website. That is on our massive to-do list. And I think it would be fun for the podcast because I've thought a lot about more graphics now that the podcast has kind of evolved, not only in the new graphics that we have on it, but the lights and having Ian there in a separate room and the way technically that it's set up. One example of something I want for the podcast is the mega sponsor. We should have like an explosion there or something. Graphically, something should change when the mega sponsor comes up. So it'd be fun to maybe add a couple more graphics onto that podcast. But again, that's an expense. That's time to design that stuff. Yeah, it would be fun. I think we already have that moment built in, Paulo, to the podcast. So that would totally make sense to have a graphic that would, or at least just mention where we are specifically when we do that shout out. Oh, Slack sounds are on and picking up on stream. Oh no. Okay, sorry. That's hilarious. Why would... Oh, what if I just do that? There we go. That's so funny. Welcome to my Slack. Okay, sorry I missed all that. But that didn't change anything, right? I just turned the sound off. I gotta remember to turn that back on when I play video. Or is that not how that works? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so hopefully that goes away. Let me know if that comes back. Sorry. Cup of Jones is a long episode, man. There's only so much I can do. Looking at the comments, looking at the camera, looking at chat, going back and forth. Okay. Jimmy Liljegren. Liljegren, maybe? You talked about doing a spoiler mode for the Spider-Man DLC before. Is that still happening, or has it been too long? We're going to do that at the beginning of January, and the ship sailed. Just curious, because I'm playing through the add-ons at the moment, and I'd love to hear what you and the other guys think of it. Yeah, so not doing that, apologies. Thought about that over the holidays, sent a message to Bossman. Bossman was like, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then we were just doing too much at the beginning of the year. Matt Izagiri, which I think I pronounced correctly. Again, everybody, if you're going to send me... Matt, thank you for the pronunciation. Anybody who sends me pronunciations, they're the best. But I always try, and I tell this to the other allies too, and they never do it. Put an emphasis. Capitalize whatever part of the pronunciation should be emphasized more than the other syllables. So Matt Izagiri wrote Izagiri, is-UH-GEAR-EE. Izagiri. That's a guess. I would just imagine it's Izagiri, but it could be Izagiri or Izagiri or Izagiri. You know what I mean? So all that stuff always helps, but I feel like I'm being stupid and nitpicky because Matt was such a wonderful person for letting me know how to pronounce their name, which I'm probably going to get wrong next time. Matt Izagiri. My business question is regarding if any consideration has been put into community participation integration in game streams. For example, for the inevitable Pokemon Sword Shield stream, what do you think about having a dedicated patron choice stream in which patrons vote on the team and the names of Pokemon or customization options, etc.? This could be extended to asking for ideas about streaming games in a different fashion, such as doing a 2-players 1-controller challenge in Trials Rising, or having the allies do a Smash tournament where they're at the mercy of patrons voting for each ally's fighter. Again, apologies if this has already been brought up. Thank you for taking the time out of your week to respond to the feedback of your patrons. Thank you, Matt, and thank you again for giving me your pronunciation. But I would just close the Slack window while streaming, honestly. Okay, well, let's just do that then. Is that work that way, I guess, when that goes away? Yeah, sure. There you go. See you later, Slack. I'll close Twitter, too. There you go. All right. Yeah. Again, community. We're talking about community manager last time. I think it's tricky. It's a good idea, but it's just tricky because it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I had an idea about how you can improve the quality and make your community happier with your group streams, but aside from that, not increase their viewership or, like, I don't know if that would have any other benefits beyond making the community stoked about stuff, which is always good to increase community morale. It's always great to get people more involved. But again, it's just one extra step. And just right now with us increasing our streaming schedule, we, maybe spend too much time patting ourselves in the back by being like, hey, we're doing more streams. We should definitely consider, bringing the community in more, but we will consider that. That is just basically about as far as I can take that. Josh Reed, the garage had many limits, as we all know. One good thing about how much moving around with it you all had to do, though, was its versatility. It had the podcasts and the group streams, yes, both of which the studio does better, but it also had a Pokemon tournament, Gundam streams, the big fat table to do them on, etc. By its very nature, the garage had to be versatile. And now that the honeymoon period is mostly over, I'm left wondering how the out-of-the-ordinary streams will work at the studio. Do you have a way in mind to set up for a Pokemon tournament, a Gundam stream? Basically, does the studio have space set up so that you can do streams that aren't from a podcast desk or on the couches? Totally. Not to be short with this question, but yeah, the couch in the front, you lift it, you move it away, you put it in the back of the streaming space, and then that couch is on 2 little metal platforms. You slide those back underneath the platforms behind them, and then you have a whole other space. If you even want to take the other couch out, now you have an elevated stage. So we were talking about theater, stand-up, or other funny things. We actually have a stage in there. So if we want to have people down below and have a little audience in front and tilt the camera up, we have space in the back there to have people standing on stage. So yeah. Apologies, we just haven't done anything weird like that in the future. But yeah, we have way more options, way more space, way more versatility. We just haven't necessarily demonstrated that. We're kind of dialed into making the stuff that we're going to be doing on a weekly basis as good as it can be. Dylan Wiggin, you always get people badgering you for more EZA merch. So how do you feel about a merch tier for the Patreon, like a monthly exclusive t-shirt, etc.? This would appease those hungry for EZA gear and would be a good way to get more people to become patrons and encourage current patrons to go to higher tiers. There are fulfillment services who can do the heavy lifting on logistics, and I've looked around and many other similar Patreons have merch tiers, so it seems like it wouldn't be impossible or too much hassle on your end on paper anyway. You could even keep the tier limited at first till you got a handle on the production side of things. Just an idea. Curious to see what you and the rest of the community think about it. Dylan, this is a fault of Easy Allies. And it is probably, I think, maybe one of the biggest issues, other than just time and the fact that merch would at the end of the day, I think if whatever we spend on merch, we will make back evenly. So we're not gonna make money on merch. I just don't think we're built to take advantage of something like that right now. But because whenever we do merch, it seems to be this small percentage of our community that's like, hey, merch, and then they go get it. It's never been like, whoa, that was, again, something akin to the amount of money that we make from YouTube, the amount of money that we make from Twitch, the amount of money that we make from our Patreon and our channels that support that Patreon that are primarily responsible for distributing our content throughout the world. So whenever we meet and whenever we figure out what we're going to be doing in the future, it's like 99% content. We're just trying to think like, what can we do? What should we do? What's that content going to be like? Who's going to produce it? And so to take a chunk out of those meetings and be like, yeah, but what's our t-shirt going to look like? it's not organically something that we're excited about, I guess. It's just not something that is at the forefront of our minds, which brings me to the unfortunate fact that if we were to have a merch tier, someone would need to be in charge of it. We would have to assign one ally. You are a t-shirt person. None of us care. You have a blank check. You have 100% authority to just create whatever designs you want, get them to our community, and just make whatever you want. None of the 9 allies want to do that. None of us are like, I want to be the t-shirt guy. Like, we've had this question come up before. We're like, does anybody want to just be in charge of merch? And like, none of the allies feel confident enough in their design skills. None of us want to add that to our current workload. And it's a bummer. It just seems like this kind of glaring thing that obviously would benefit the community, morale, visibility. Would help people get the word out. And it would put, some change in our pocket, but it's just not so much of what you see at Easy Allies. So much of what is produced here. You didn't get a 30-minute Western musical from Ian because he felt he was obligated to do that. That was something that was a passion of his and something he really wanted to do. And merch is short of being a passion, and I think is something that we can make happen if we absolutely make it a priority. And considering how much growth we've had at Easy A and the transition period of going through Goaties to studio to the concert, there's just this kind of like next step process that anytime we get together to discuss something, there's something glaringly obvious that needs to be focused on before anything else. And hopefully that's merch one day. And hopefully we get there. Dark Pikachu, have you ever thought about a second Tabletop Escapades? That said, there will be new stuff to buy at the concert. New stuff is coming. Dark Pikachu, have you ever thought about a second Tabletop Escapades with the rest of the allies, or adding some Jones or Damiani to Season 3? I have seen the special episodes where you were in. I know you love it, Jones. I do love Tabletop. I don't love the idea of being beholden to another show right now. Even Fiasconauts is something where I'm like, I don't need to be on Fiasconauts this month. Oh, thank you. I can focus on other stuff. So yeah, that might have come up in conversation, but anyone who is not on Tabletop Escapades is not like dying to get on Tabletop Escapades, purely just because of time. Yeah, apologies if that was a tease the last time that we have been on Tabletop. I definitely had fun when I was on Tabletop. I would love it if Tabletop was my only job. That was it. If we just did Tabletop shows, that'd be fantastic. Sean Callahan. Do you feel the allies produce enough content given the revenue stream? What I mean is you have 50K, 52K coming in a month from Patreon, plus some of the some from Twitch and YouTube. There are 9 allies, yet you maybe get one show out one show, which is an hour long a day. I don't know the salaries or if the allies or how it's divided, but assuming it's a full-time position for most of you. There are individual content creators and streamers who produce more content in a week than 8 allies do. Random example, take Brad or Huber. Sure, they review games, Huber Syndrome 2 hours a week, Tabletop Escapades 1.5 hours a week, maybe show up on a podcast or Frame Trap 3 to 4 hours a week, group stream 3 hours. That's about 12 to 15 hours. I'd love to know what else is being done or how the Allies team is allocated. I love the Allies and everything they do, and would just like more content given the amount of people there. It's pretty much the only thing stopping me from donating more. Please don't take this as an affront. I just genuinely wonder what some Allies do or how many hours they are contracted to actually work and what that consists of. I'll start by commenting on the comparison with other YouTubers. And that's one thing that definitely is different from Easy Allies operates depending on how other people operate. And that there is very rarely a one-stop shop within Easy Allies, meaning I think, not to toot my horn, but I think I might, well, no, not at all. I was going to say it might be me with Cup of Jones, but I got blood here in chat. But even though I wrote and voiced and cut the Anthem review, I still, talked to Huber a lot because he was playing a lot of Anthem. I talked to Brad a lot because he was playing a lot of Anthem to get his impressions. So the hours that Brad and Huber put into Anthem, were for Easy Allies. Like, that was not like, yeah, that is their recreation, but that is work time. Like, Huber's not gonna, the fact that Brad, finished the end boss, and played a lot of that with Kristen, and I could kind of rely on his, experience to add to my own. I wasn't like, okay, but, you shouldn't have been playing that. You should be, making other shows. And when you have solo streamers producing content, they have no approval process. They're not running that script through anybody. No one needs to watch that video. They can just export something and then it goes up. They don't need to have business meetings. They don't need to have an office. They don't need to have, they don't need to. I know you were talking about like you're bringing guests in, but like a lot of times when you have guest shows, those shows need to be figured out. So yeah, Huber only shoots Huber Syndrome for a certain amount of time, but he's got to, attend a meeting where he figures out when he's going to schedule that. He's got to have Don work out with him schedule wise about when Don's going to be there. Needs to take time to actually map out the episode of what it's going to be. And that work is even more so for things like Frame Trap and Friend Code and the Easy Allies podcast. For the showcase, you not only have the amount of time that the showcase happens, you have the 2 to 3 hours that it takes for me to gather the footage and actually put each of those shows together. So I think logistically, there's a lot of planning and pre-planning and post work done on each of these episodes that you're not accounting for in your schedule. One of the big differences from us and a lot of other YouTubers is the fact that we are working hard, and it is an uphill battle in a lot of ways, but we're working hard to reestablish ourselves at the level that we were at when we were game trailers, where people did not consider us influencers, did not consider us like YouTube stars. They were like, oh no, you are a review media outlet. You are a place that we can send games and gaming, content to, and that you can filter that through your editorial opinions and through your community. And you're not just like making silly videos. Like you are actually, we should invite you to all of our events. We should, give you access to Comic-Con and PAX and E3 and all of that stuff. And so because of that, because we are an editorial body, our whole gaming lives are a part of our work. I played Fortnite yesterday for like 3 hours. And I remember like thinking later, I was like, was that work? Like 99% of the time when I play games, it's work. Like I didn't review Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that game took me over 100 hours. And I consider all of that work. All of that was in service of having an editorial opinion for Frame Trap, for, so I could discuss with Michael Huber, possibly like in a spoiler mode. Every time you see a spoiler mode, the Dragon Quest spoiler mode, that's 100 hours per person of all those people at least that played that game. And so just playing games takes up a lot of our time and factors into a lot of different ways that, even if nothing is specifically assigned for that person in playing games. And so again, even if like, I'm probably not going to mention Fortnite on the next Frame Trap, I am the only ally and probably the only journalist in video games who is about to reach the last area in Fortnite's Save the World single player mode, the co-op mode. So yeah, there's like 4 areas you can go to. The last one's called Twine Peaks. I'm slowly working my way out through it's called the Canny Valley, which is the 3rd area, to get to that point. Just so before Fortnite finally wraps up or possibly, comes out of early access one day, I will be able to comment on this weird game, and this weird mode and very few people are playing in this extremely popular video game. It's nice to have some perspective on that. And so I just think there's a lot of time, business, and I feel like I'm rambling, but it can be difficult to quantify all of those things. And even if I thought about this too, even if I look back at a week and was like, well, here's the week, here's what we spent doing this entire week, each ally broken down hour by hour of what they were doing, that week would not look like the next week. And if I gave you that for February would not look like March, because we have a lot of planning for the studio, planning for the concert. And, March will not look anything like June because it's E3, and June won't look anything like December because it's GOTYs. And so it's like, it's tough to really, quantify all of the hours that we put in to Easy Allies. Other than the fact that a lot of this company does work on the honor system. You are responsible for the content that you're responsible for, and those are really, the majority of the checks and balances here at Easy Allies. That if a show vanishes for a week, obviously that's when the red flags pop up. But there is just a lot about trying to absorb ourselves into this culture of gaming, and a lot of times that involves reading articles, and that involves reading headlines, and that involves communicating on Slack, sometimes for hours. Sometimes I would literally look back on 2 hours of my workday and all I did was check my emails and read Slack. But I was working. I was entirely 100% focused on Easy Allies. So maybe one day, if I have the time to tell you how much time I don't have, I will write down a list of maybe what a day in the life looks like, or a week in the life. And of course, you said don't take it as an affront, so I don't consider that at all. But if this message was kind of long-winded, it was not to like defend ourselves, but it's just something that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, and something that can be confusing. And like I said, well, I was thinking this morning about the week, or last night when I read this question, the weeks and months and years really being different. Again, you can't compare 2019 to 2018 because we have a studio now. So it's just it's hard to settle into a rhythm. With this business and this crazy company of ours. Reese Simons, at the risk of triggering the community and prompting a joke answer, do you think having lightning in the back of the shot for streams is worth the space it takes up? When EZA first kicked off, it was a fun callback, but I think you guys have moved on from the old GT Crew label now, and it seems like the standee serves no purpose other than to serve a long-dead meme and take space away from other fun things that could be in-shot, bigger couches, artwork, model shelves, guests, etc. P.S. Since you had a drawn-out conversation over how to pronounce my name, John Reese Davies, on the podcast stream recently, I guess you'll no longer be saying it incorrectly when I submit Cup of Jones questions. Reese Simons. There you go. Hopefully, well, if it was Reese. We ultimately decided it was John Reese Davies, so hopefully it's Reese. But I'm just dying to see the chat here. Excuse me, how dare you, blasphemy, burn the blasphemer, ouch, lol, gasp, wow, dangerous question, triggered, ban this guy, oof, worth it, this guy. It is a goddess, you faithless swine. I mean, somebody was talking earlier, Baby's First Studio. Let's go back to Baby's First Studio really quick. And we only have one other business question after this, so it's kind of fun to dig into this. I mean, it is silly. I think, I don't know, in some way, the fact that stand-up still exists, the fact that nobody spilled pizza sauce on it, the fact that, you know, it didn't get burnt in a fire, the fact that we didn't forget it somewhere or somebody fell on it and doing some stupid stunt, the fact that, you know, she's still around and she's still with us and she's still looking down on us, and the fact that she was there, like she was there in that, you know, even before it was a relevant joke, even before, you know, Lightning was a part of anything you would ever see on camera. Lightning was there. Like, we owned Lightning. Lightning was in the studio. Lightning sat there and saw everything. And so the fact that she's still around, I don't know, brings me joy, and it does have this stupid value. And again, back to Baby's First Studio, your roommate said, and this is interesting as far as like to make the studio quote unquote look better, your roommate said, like, I need more action figures and stuff in the background. And so when we were trying to figure out what we could fit into that space, we set up the camera shot, and I remember being in the studio with Ian. It was just the two of us. We were in the streaming room, and I was like, okay, what about Lightning? Where should she go? Maybe in the back? Because I was thinking that back corner, maybe she's just peeking over the side. Excuse me. And I slid Lightning over to the side, and Lightning just kind of popped into the right there, and I was like, oh, she fits it perfectly. like she belongs right there. How great. So yeah, apologies if it's an eyesore. Apology if I can certainly understand moving on from a joke when you think it has run its course. But I don't think we're not going to be taking Lightning to the concert this year. We don't like to travel with Lightning anymore. I know I brought Lightning to the first meetup. Lightning will not be attending any further meetups. Apologies. Lightning will just be living in that room and looking down on us. And even if Lightning was moved away, if need be, if we needed to change the angle or put something back there and we moved Lightning, Lightning will still be there. And even if Lightning is never seen on camera, Lightning will be in that studio. So you will probably see Lightning pop up if at some point Lightning is moved and we are shifting the camera around. But Lightning is a symbol. Lightning goes nowhere. The trial of the missing Lightning. The goddess of the worst Final Fantasy game. Chat is really great right now. If you're just listening to this or you're watching this later, you're missing some good YouTube chat. Kyle Lee with our final business question. With full playthrough Fridays on the horizon, how would you feel about playing Alien Isolation with Huber and Ian? I think it would be fun with how much the Alien series means to you three. The Alien series does mean a lot. I never really talked to Ian about Alien that much. That's pretty cool. If by aliens you mean the original Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3, kinda. Anything past that, with the exception of the Aliens versus Predator comic books and video games, are excellent. But I don't know. In Alien Isolation, I have some problems with. So I feel bad if I was to be on that full playthrough, just kind of sitting in the back, being like, "This game's boring." That game is beautiful, though. To say something positive about Alien Isolation, I watched somebody playing it for something the other day and was just like, gosh, the lighting in Alien Isolation is pretty insane. I would dare to say nothing looks like that this gen, specifically capturing that film aesthetic, that really stark, bright, lights, you know, when they go by, like having one light, just one source, really color like an entire environment. Really pretty. But yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. One thing I forgot to say at the beginning of this, before we move on to personal questions, spread the word in case people are asking. One thing that we're thinking of now that full playthroughs are finally a thing is not calling them full playthrough Fridays. We have yet to land on what a good title would be, but we don't want to obligate ourselves to do it on a Friday in case Friday's a bad day. So we'll be doing full playthroughs. We will announce them as full playthrough. We'll think of a name of it, but it doesn't necessarily have to be on Friday. So I don't know if that's like a deal breaker for some of you. If you're like, that's it, I'm out. Patreon pledge pulled. Personal questions. Cheers. Cloisterance Vox says Alien Isolation is unique, and that is correct. Personal questions. Here's a personal questions. Will I get this done by 2 p.m. and meet up with Sean to work out? Dwayne L. This is just a minor silly question, but I feel like this was answered before. But what do we call you all? I've heard the word allies for obvious reasons, but I also heard that the people being used when referring to us patrons, or was pointed out to me when other people of this community. It gets kind of confusing. I just like knowing that I'm calling people addressing by the right term. Also, how goes the library build, or would it be stocking? Any plans to show it off again? Oh, and from watching the stream, I was reminded, how goes that BB-8 Lego construction? I mean, you can see right there, that's how that goes. That's how it's going. Still in the box. P.S. This is my low-key, aka pathetic way of getting any answers to whether Gundam streams are still on the table, but I'm kind of curious on how the BB-8 construction was going. Still in the box. Gundam streams currently not scheduled. The library build is coming. I think probably maybe mid-April. I'll give you an update on that. Obviously, the concert takes priority right now, but then I want to spend some money on new shelves. And then we will have, finalize the concert, finalize that. I want to get a new, I want to get a filing cabinet. Filing cabinets, it's fun. I want to get a filing cabinet for the library space so we can put stuff in. I get the Amazon slips and the letters that everybody sends us. And so instead of taking those home like I do, I go to the filing cabinet in the studio. So yeah, lots of silly stuff that we got to buy. If you're like, filing cabinet, get new mics. I don't care about filing cabinet. Brandon Kagan. I'm curious if at any point during your busy schedule, you're able to watch any other content creators, and more specifically, are there any ideas you would like to see EZA put their own spin on? Any ideas you would like to see EZA put their own spin on? I mean, yeah, talk show. We have plans to do that. 58K, help us get there. Any ideas you would like to see EZA put their own spin on? I mean, obviously the documentary stuff is fun. I have a ton of respect for the content that NoClip puts out, and would love to do that. Would love to, not only like a guest show, I would love to have like Larry King. I'd love to have to do like a Larry King show where it's like once a week, you know, everybody in the industry tunes in because it's like, whoa, you got Shuhei on this week, and it's just an hour raw just talking to that person, you know, for our live show, because we're going to have some weird guests. Like I might bring my mom back on. I don't know. Like, it's fun to be playing a game and have other little bits that we bring up. Like I want it to be more than, you know, just like a talk show rather than just a sit down conversation show. But it would be fun to approach gaming from like a straight 60 minutes perspective and just have people go off site and interview people. Trouble is, it's so opposite of what we typically do. It's so outside of our wheelhouse right now that it would take a lot of energy and finances to pull something like that off. We're also not super great at it, you know, like we'd have to hire completely different crews to kind of come in and take care of the tech aspect of it, so we could just focus on the interviewing part and the concept of scheduling all of that stuff. We've yet to really take advantage of being in LA as far as all of the YouTubers and developers and publishers and PR companies and all the stuff that is located in Los Angeles. So looking forward to doing that in the future. But as far as watching any other content creators, not on a regular basis, which sucks. But which I don't feel bad because I don't really watch anything outside of like Netflix. I mostly just play games and work on Easy Allies, and it's a great life, I'll tell you. But and obviously, you know, see movies and try to catch up on stuff when stuff is recommended to me. But I know a lot of people are like, oh, I listen to podcasts all the time, and I don't really. I'm in a book club, and so whenever I have time to just kind of, you know, like I'm vacuuming or cutting up cardboard boxes or whatever, or playing something like Fortnite or Anthem or something that's going to be repetitive and I don't necessarily need to listen to it. I'll put on my book on tape or audiobook. But the exception is I always try to watch something with the first time it comes out. So like Debatable and all of the new kind of funny content that just came out. I tried to watch that. Fran Mirabella, I don't know if you follow, who used to be at IGN, now streams a lot, and just put up a review of Anthem. It was like a 25-minute review. I haven't seen it yet, but I want to make time for it because just from looking at it from Twitter, I was like, ooh, this actually looks kind of different in terms of he's doing some fun transitions here, and I'm curious to see how that more extended format works out. He plays a lot of these multiplayer games more than I do, so I'm curious of what he thought of Anthem. And so whenever someone's like, hey, I did a new thing, Naomi Kyle, ever since she left IGN, has been doing a lot of solo stuff. And so whenever someone's like, hey, new thing, RKE, when they first started, it was neat to see their type of stuff and how it differentiated. Obviously, tons you can learn from people, Gulp, taking that leap of creating brand new content and showing it to the world and being like, I want to do more stuff like this. The Hashcast was, a recent sponsor of Easy Allies. And so it's fun to seeing that episode beyond the episode that I was on. Yeah, so I'm always down to see the first of something and see what people are attempting to do because it's really hard to catch up on a regular basis. Zcon, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on being part of such a public business where everyone takes a sense of ownership, or at least it feels like it, as a result of Patreon, etc. I can only imagine the highs and lows. It is a fascinating insight, a confluence of the public life, public funding, and gaming culture. Seems like a frustrating end, but I feel all of you navigate it with the utmost elegance. Well, thank you, sir, and cheers to you. Yeah, it's a nice counter. Wait, what? Haha, maybe you don't have multiple questions in a question. Wait, what? Sorry. Did I say something wrong? No, maybe. I don't know. Are there more alert sounds? I don't know what's happening. I think there's an interesting balance. And on one end, you have, a lot of our lives are out for everyone to see. And that can be kind of stressful. It can be confusing. I always get a little heavy with anxiety right before I do an episode of Cup of Jones. So I just try to calm down. And it's weird as I get excited, but by the time I'm into this, like an hour and a half, you'd be like, well, you'd be really excited. This is when I'm worked up, man. This is when I'm ready to do Cup of Jones for just like all day because it's fun. It's fun talking with all of you. We have a wonderful community. We have really great questions. And so it's fun to work on this, but it can be exciting and it's tough, as we talked about with finances, and to a lesser extent, our personal lives. Like, where do we draw that line? Where do we separate it? And so I don't think it's that we need to shatter that line, and that line cannot exist. It's just where do we have it? And more specifically, can we talk about that line? Can we not be like, oh, weird and non-committal about some things, or should we just be direct and be like, nope, not going to happen? Gundam streams not scheduled. Retro in production. That's all we'll say. But what I think is the flip side of that coin, that kind of balances everything out, is how young the video game industry is, how exciting it is, how young just the concept of live streaming is, and how exciting that is moving forward, and how exciting it is to be crowdfunded, how young that concept is. And so in a lot of senses, it's like, yeah, we have to be more transparent than a lot of other companies, but we get a lot of opportunities that a lot of companies don't have. And just going to the studio and walking up those stairs every time and being like, I cannot believe we're here. I cannot believe I'm showing up to a place that other people are already potentially at and have been doing other jobs. It was weird yesterday or on Friday, or sometime recently, there was some shoot. Tomorrow, there's a couple shoots in the morning before we do the podcast. And I'm not on any of that stuff. So it's just like, have fun, guys. It's weird that all that stuff just happens now, and that we've been able to slowly build this company up to making that happen. And then, as hopefully evidenced by us hitting our 52K goal, possibly even meet goals beyond that and have a future and continue growth. Every time we put up a review, there's still people that are like, huh, Easy Allies, are you game trailers? So there's room to grow, but so the uncertainty can be a nervous thing, but it can also be an exciting thing because it means that is probably a field that is ripe for opportunity. And so it's exciting to be a part of that. It's something that I feared that I missed out on. It was incredibly grateful for starting a website in 2002 when it was like the last couple of years where you could actually do that and have it be financially viable and have somebody come in and be like, oh, I want to buy this. And I thought, like, man, this is the only time I'm going to get this opportunity. And so it's interesting that, yeah, it doesn't have, I don't think this rings with that fancy success of having this huge business coming in and you know, spending a lot of money buying something from you. But at the same time, it's its own exciting thing, because it's not just something where I'm like, oh, I don't, you know, I just had my payday, I don't technically have to work for this company anymore, to I might want to do this for the rest of my life, because this is so much fun and is so different day to day. And as evidenced by all the incredible ideas that we get every week on Easy Allies, the possibilities are endless, you know, of all the fun stuff that we can do. The only limit to our possibilities is this dumb thing called sleep that I'm not a fan of. I don't see the need for it. I want human beings to move past it. Yeah, hopefully someday I won't require sleep anymore, but like, doesn't seem likely. Yeah, it's fun, Zcon. Daniel Ribeiro. I know you're a big fan of camping and trekking, so I'm curious to know which U.S. states and countries you have traveled to. Is there any states and countries you and or Amanda plan to travel to in the future? What aspects of other countries' cultures do you like? I always love the food. I know people are like, but you hate food. I don't hate food. I hate preparing food. But I love going to other countries and eating weird foods. I love that the first crepe I ever had was in France. I went to France when I was in 4th grade, and with my family, I went to Europe for a month. And I'll never forget, my dad was like, "You're gonna love this," and he got me a crepe with probably melted chocolate. Did they have Nutella at the time? And like in the 80s? How old is Nutella? I don't know. It's probably an extremely ignorant question, but I got like a crepe with melted chocolate in it, and was just like, that's the greatest thing I've ever had in my life. What is that? And then, like, you know, now they have crepe trucks, you know, like it's, you know, it's much easier to get that stuff. But let's do this. Map of the United States. Where have I been? Let's add them up. All right. Obviously, California. Been to Mexico a lot because it's right there. Been to Oregon and Washington and Idaho, and been to Nevada, because I've been to Vegas tons of times. But I've specifically, I did a loop on a road trip from California up to Oregon, then up to Washington, then through Idaho into Montana, then back through Idaho. I don't think we went into Utah, but then through Nevada, and then back into Los Angeles. Been to Arizona, been to New Mexico, hiked in New Mexico. I hiked through long-term 9-day hike that started in Philmont, New Mexico. Been to Colorado a bunch of times, been to Denver, been to Salt Lake City. Amanda lived in Kansas for a while, been to Texas a couple times. A lot of the South I haven't been to. I really, 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 really want to go to Savannah. I want to go to New Orleans more than that. New Orleans is my absolute #1 city that I want to go to in the world. You know, I'm a big Disneyland fan, and I love the fake New Orleans that they built in Disneyland. I can only imagine how much fun the real New Orleans is. My brother's been there. I want to go to Savannah, and I want to go to New Orleans, and I want to go to all around the South, and I want to go to every ghost tour that they have. I want every pamphlet. I'm going to be the guy at the train station that's just pulling all the ghost pamphlets out. I want to call everybody out. Please, we don't even have tours at the hospital. It's just closed. I would like to go to your haunted hospital, please. Been to Florida a bunch, been to New York City, been to Boston, drove up from Boston to Maine, so I hit all those guys up there. Been to Minnesota, been to Wisconsin, and I've been to Michigan, visiting friends. And that might be it. I might have missed out on all the other states. Been to Illinois because I have family there. And I don't think I've been to Alaska. Been to Hawaii a couple times. But there you go. As far as states, that was fun. Hopefully somewhat exciting. And what countries do you plan to travel in the future? We really want to go to London. Amanda really wants to see Cursed Child. So we might go to New York to see Cursed Child, or might go to London. Amanda and I have never been to London together. We have toured parts of Europe together. Considering how much we love the UK and love just British everything, it'd be really fun to do that with the missus. You guys are far too cynical. I've interacted with those people every time. It's a very genuine reaction. I'd be annoyed if anyone try to turn it into a bit. Oh, something's going on in chat. I was referencing the question about how you refer to the allies. Oh, got skipped for BB-8. Sorry. Okay. So yeah, how we refer to the allies. Everyone is an ally. So if I talk about Bossman, he's an ally. If we talk about our community, they're an ally. If you're an ally. Whenever we say the easy allies, that is us. So in the podcast producer credits once a month at the end of the podcast, the Easy Allies would like to thank their Patreon podcast producers. That's us. That means the Easy Allies. I'm sure you would like to thank them as well, but you might be those people, so it doesn't count. So yeah, that's the rough way of how I do that. Thank you for catching everybody. Asbo Zapruder. I had this week's 3 musicals locked in and loaded, but then you had to go and mention that you like They Might Be Giants. First question, musicals and They Might Be Giants? Dude, where have you been all my life? Let me know if you ever get hooked on British comedy panel shows. British comedy panel shows? Maybe let me know one of those. I'm not sure what you talked about, but I do like British comedy. I'm a big Python fan. Second question, can I get your top 5 They Might Be Giant songs? I don't know if I have a top 5. I haven't followed They Might Be Giants a lot. I have to thank my older brother, Christopher, for introducing me to They Might Be Giants. And I remember, I was just about to look it up, but I'll tell you from memory. There's obviously They Might Be Giants, their title song, and Birdhouse in Your Soul, I think is They Might Be Giants, right? Whatever album those were on, that was like the one album of They Might Be Giants that I listened to a bunch. And then over the years, remembered that I liked They Might Be Giants. And so whenever a new album would come out or I'd hear a new song, I'd be like, yeah, They Might Be Giants. But I was never really that focused on it. So there you go. QI with Stephen Fry. That rhymes. QI, Would I Lie to You, Taskmaster. Look it up on YouTube. Okay. All right. QI is a must watch. Nice. So there you go. So rather than give you 5 total and like make them up, I want to give you 2 that I do remember from memory. Make a little birdhouse in your soul. So good. I recently, Kit Snow. I recently picked up embroidery as a hobby, and while I've already seen someone ask specifically about Gundam construction streams earlier, I was wondering if any sort of creative stream might be a possibility in the future. I tend to work on art or recently embroidery while listening to y'all's podcasts and such, and in theory, I do the same with your streams, but I tend to get sidetracked with reading, interacting, and chat more than with typical streams. Also, side note, are there any podcasts you're listening to currently that you found fun? I'm trying to expand my comfort zone and try new podcasts out, and I thought I'd ask. Radiolab is the best podcasts in the history of ever. Dirty John is coming up on... Is Netflix doing Dirty John? It's Dirty John, right? That's the podcast that I think NPR did about this woman who was being stalked by this really creepy guy. That was crazy. Amanda and I went on a long road trip and listened to the whole thing in one drive. And we're like, but... Yeah, Radiolab's really great. The Moth is really great. It's just a bunch of storytelling. These are all very old podcasts. I'm not super hip on new podcasts. So This American Life, Radiolab, and The Moth is usually where I go. Amanda loves podcasts. Tweet at Amanda and ask her. She's always listening to fun stuff. But creative streams, I mean, yeah, I want to do dreams later this year. I love the creative stuff, but specifically creative crafting stuff. Yes, we want to get back to that. I do not want to give you a time frame. That is something that we would like to do. Michael Yao, I'm about to move to a city for my new job, and I wanted to ask, as someone who's experienced in moving, how do you get to know your city? Do you just walk around? Do you go to the meetup things that meetup.com does? Or do you find local joints that find your interests? Man, Michael, I'm going to fail you right now because I live in Los Angeles. I was born in Los Angeles. I don't want to move from Los Angeles. Depending on how global warming goes, I might have to move to Alaska, but I would love to stay here. I don't really have what I like to do whenever I go to like PAX or like I said, I went to play Days Gone up in San Francisco, and so I walked around a little bit. I got there early, and so I was like, oh, okay, let me just walk around the city, and because I like to. San Francisco, for some reason, is a very confusing city to me in terms of not where things are in relation to each other. Like, I kind of know where people are. It's like, okay, GameSpot's there, IGN's there, Coit Tower's there, like, the Golden Gate's there. I mean, flipped. It's tricky for me to, once I'm actually in San Francisco, to know where the heck I am. Like, just the buildings are so tall and everything's kind of sloped in weird directions. Like, I always get strangely lost. But I'm not really good at moving to new cities because moving to Boston and back is the only time I've ever like lived in a new city. But yeah, I liked walking around a lot. Again, I don't, with, I don't know if in high crime areas, if that's the smartest thing to do, just go on an evening stroll. But I loved not having a car ever in Boston the whole time I was there, because it was fun to use public transit. It was fun to see how long it takes to walk to places. And it was fun to try to find, you definitely, I would imagine, want to get to know your district right off the bat. And so, maybe go on walks. I don't know if you have a dog, but it's nice to walk around and, see what your local schools are like, see what, local fun restaurants are like, try to start, as close as you can and then spread out as far as like your activities are concerned. But, don't have a lot of experience in that. So I'm curious, actually, if you would share that with us, what your experiences are moving into a new town. If you were moving to LA and you were like, where should I go? I'd be like, I don't travel that far in LA. I don't leave the seat that much. No, just kidding. Alex Pisa. Firstly, I wanted to say I like the position of the camera in the latest EZA podcast. It's a small detail, but I very much appreciate it. Yeah, we've been kind of slowly honing in on a comfy position that we'll stick to for most shows. Secondly, you said you wanted to take the brand manager route more this year. You talked more about this some, but currently, what does this mean? And to you, and do you approximately, how many reviews do you think you'll do this year? I'm going to talk about this in our editorial that I'm going to go through as quickly as possible, because I'm going to talk about the games that I want to play this year, because I like to do that every now and then, kind of look ahead and do a most anticipated. I'm not going to fit more into the brand manager role this year specifically, because who knows what roles we're all going to fill in the future, because we have this crazy new studio and we have a couple new shows that we're planning. And so there's a lot of, are you going to do that? Okay, you're going out of town. So I'll do that. There's a lot of that going on right now. And so it's not the time for me to I feel I can step back, but in a couple years, maybe, we've been in the studio for a while. People are really, really comfy with their roles. We've possibly grown our Patreon to the point where maybe we can't bring someone in full time, but we can bring in other people to work on separate shows and get a little extra help to produce the stuff that we do every week. And maybe if we get to 58K and I have that guest show, it's well, now I have to book guests and I have to host this thing every week. And so maybe I can step away from doing other things. But it basically just means consider myself less of an on-camera personality and more somebody who is planning or helping another manager plan more of the business side. And so basically means seeing less of me, which is unfortunate. I wish some billionaire could come in and be like, I'm going to give you all of my money and I will plan everything. We're like, oh, great. And we can just play video games all day. That sounds fantastic. It's not something I want to get away from that because I don't enjoy it. I just think it's, I'm 40, it maybe makes sense to bring in some other faces, opinions, views, personalities into Easy Allies rather than us just constantly dominating the scene. And I speak for the general future of Easy Allies, because a lot of people have talked recently about what's your vision, what's going to happen, and we're not in a position with the studio yet where we can completely lay everything out as far as all of our hopes and dreams. But that's kind of where my head is at. Podcast without Jones is not the podcast. We'll see. We did one last week, not this last podcast, but the one before that. But that's kind of you. It's good to feel loved. Andrew McMillan, over the past couple of years, I've been taking a deep dive into the Final Fantasy series, as I've never played many of them when I was younger. I haven't played a lot of Final Fantasy games. It's been a fascinating experience to see the games evolve throughout the generations, and though my personal favorite is Final Fantasy IV, I also greatly enjoyed Final Fantasy IX, Final Fantasy VII, and Final Fantasy XII. Each of these games had a nice blend of something old, something new to their core gameplay, as well as stories and characters that I grew rather attached to. To date, the only cord number entries I have not yet touched are Final Fantasy II, Final Fantasy III, Final Fantasy XI, and Final Fantasy XIV. A number of friends of mine recommended Final Fantasy VI to me, a game which I know is a personal favorite of yours. I found the characters to be a likable bunch, the soundtrack was stellar, and it is easily one of the most visually impressive games on the SNES. But what threw me for a loop were the character-specific desperation moves, as well as gimmicky, almost minigame-style gameplay elements that frequently interjected themselves between the exploration and combat. Ultimately, I got about 6 hours into the game and decided that it just wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't outright hate it, but it was a very different experience from what I had expected, and I realized I wasn't having as much fun with it as I had hoped. My question for you is this: has there ever been a game or a series that your friends recommended to you or your peers spoke very highly of, but when you eventually had a chance to play it, you found it just wasn't up your alley? Not trying to bring the mood down or anything, just curious if there are any games that didn't click for you in the same way they might have for others. That's fine. It's interesting. One of the things that I cannot comment on at all, whenever somebody's like, yeah, I played Final Fantasy VI, it wasn't for me. I first played Final Fantasy VI 20 years ago. So who knows, man? Who knows what other person that can drink in a year that was born on that day that I played Final Fantasy VI for the first time on the Super Famicom with a friend. And so my, like, my first, like, absorption of that game, I was spellbound. When you're like, yeah, this actually looks pretty good compared to other RPGs. It was the best looking RPG in the world. It was, it was astounding, some of the stuff that they pulled off in that game. Like those like chases through like the Serpent Trench and the train. I mean, not to be like Old Man Jones, but it just like that reverence that I have for that series that has just reverberated from that day. I totally understand if you don't have that. There's no way you could have that. So I actually love comments like this. It's really interesting for people that are like you're like, we're character specific desperation moves. The idea that character abilities could sour you on an entire RPG is strange to me. It's not, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just like, that's new. So that's interesting for me to just add that to the experience. And the gimmicky, almost minigame style gameplay elements that frequently interject themselves between the exploration and combat. So again, like Serpent Trench, maybe, where you're like picking where you go, or like, maps that are like mazes or labyrinths or something, or when you were saying with minigames, maybe like splitting up your party and stuff. Stuff like that I thought was revolutionary and really cool at the time. But again, going back now, where you're like, I just want to play this game. Why are you doing all these weird little hiccups? It was Square Enix, or Square at the time, like stretching what the Super Nintendo could do as far as they could at the time. But yeah, because you soured me on this opinion, I will drop my own little sour note on the end of this comment. In that, I desperately want to finish a Yakuza game. I want to play a Yakuza game from start to finish. I've played Yakuza 0, I've played Yakuza Kiwami, but I haven't gotten very far in either of those games. But I can tell right away that it's not really quote unquote for me. It doesn't speak to me as much as you were saying, like some of these other things speak to you. I will finish it, and I do want to play it because of my job, because of my friends that I love, that really love these games, and I want to join a conversation with them and be able to speak to my experience. But just right away, I'm not like, oh, I got to play this. Like when I think about Yakuza Kiwami, it's like they're just the element that's missing for me is that it kind of was the same thing with Persona 5. Like the element that's missing for me is just like, I have to play this. Like Stardew Valley, it's like I want to play more Stardew Valley to play more, not because I have a desire to, but because I think it's important that I play more. And it's, that's how I felt sadly about Crackdown 3 and Anthem. It's just that was all but just evaporated. Just this like, I'm going to play this game right now because it's fun. So I know how you feel. Another awesome pronunciation. And again, no shade to Persona fans or Yakuza fans. We're all doing the best we can. We're all playing as many games as we can. Fabian. Wait, like he says like Obi-Wan. Fabian? Overdyke Inc. Fabian Overdyke Inc. I know these people put these pronunciations in there, and then the next week it's not in there, and I'm like, Fabian Overdyke Inc. Got it. Nailed it, right? Kind of anyways. Here's my question. As you might have derived from my name, I am European, Dutch to be precise. I was wondering if you have any experience traveling through Europe. You've probably been to Gamescom, but I have not. But besides that, any fun stories of exploring London, Amsterdam, Berlin, or any other country? I have been all over Europe except for the Netherlands. It's like the one place I really want to go, and I just missed it. A major opportunity that I missed to explore the Netherlands was I could do a semester there when I was at Emerson College in Boston. They had various semester programs. I did do the one my senior year where I spent a semester in Los Angeles. That was my last semester, so I actually left Boston mid-semester my senior year. That semester in LA was so cool. Had a lot of fun internships and learned a lot in that short period of time. But my sophomore year, I could have done that, but I didn't because there was just a lot going on that I didn't want to miss that I would have missed if I was in another country. But I know a lot. I gradually met a lot of people that took advantage of that program, and they had a lot of really fun stories and really, really liked it. But I've been to London several times. I've been to France several times. I have been to Norway and Sweden. I've been to Spain. I've been to Italy. I've been to Greece. I went to Europe again when I was in 4th grade. I went to Europe again a second time my senior year. And I have since been to Germany twice, and we've done a little traveling to Austria, and I've been to Switzerland. I went to Switzerland, stayed in one of the nicest hotels I've ever stayed in my entire life in Switzerland. But I went there when I was in high school. So I've been to Europe 4 times, I think, and consider myself incredibly lucky to have done so. I think that's kind of one of the things that I needed to shake myself out of after I graduated high school. It was like, well, we haven't all been to Europe. And it's like, no, Jones, like you were lucky because your parents could afford that. You were lucky because you had a high school that had a school program. And I went to class every week and we learned about all of the different, cities and countries that we were going to, and learned as much of the languages we could, understand how the currencies work. And that was really great. I think that, I think trips like that really help you grow as a person. And so I'm really grateful for having done that. Been to Berlin. Have not been to Amsterdam. That's like, it's calling to me. I would love to go. Brandon Ray. And sorry, they don't have any crazy fun stories. I'll give you a crazy fun story. When I went on the Greece, I went on a cruise. It was a short cruise, but we went to around the Greek islands. And so it was fun playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey and be like, Mykonos. One time they had a boat that, or when the cruise ship would dock, they had a boat that would then take you to the from the cruise ship to the shore. And we were on the boat, and I went to school with a lot of dumb guys, and one guy jumped off the boat and then swam to shore just because, you're bored. And a guy who was really worried, like just didn't realize he was goofing on him, like that worked at the dock. Our boat came up to the dock right when he was swimming up. And I remember the guy, in better English than my friend deserved, leaned over the dock and said, "Problems?" And it was, no problems. He's just being a jerk. Brandon Ray, what game would you say you are most skilled at? What game do you think each ally is the most skilled at as well? I don't play a lot of games for skill. I used to say GoldenEye, and then Huber just destroyed me at GoldenEye. Games do you think each ally is most skilled at as well? God, I don't know. That's tough to think. I mean, obviously, Boxman with Tetris, obviously Damiani with, any Mario game. I think Ben, tends to wipe the floor with us when it comes to fighting games. Brad is also very competitive at fighting games. I think Brad might be the most average, the best overall skilled gamer at your most typical shooter fighter-esque games. Like Damiani is a savant at some genres, but I think when it comes to like competitive gaming, and Damiani also is really good at like discovering the meta and really seeing like how a game ticks and working against it. Like if you want to glitch a game or pull off a secret in a game, Damiani's your man. But it just seems like Brad wins a lot of tournaments, and a lot of times I go up against Brad. He's just a very, very intimidating game player. But obviously we're all at really good things. I bet Bloodworth would probably school me in Forza. You want proof of Blood? Blood and I went on what was supposed to be a comfortable drive when we did our charity stream, and I played The Crew 2, and Blood just takes off. And I'm like, Blood, I can't finish the race. If you Blood, and Blood just like, sorry, like you can't help it. Blood just got to go fast. But yeah, I used to be really good at GoldenEye, but it's interesting because like, I think maybe like, I don't know if I would be good at Red Dead. I'm pretty good at Red Dead, but that's just because the other guys haven't played a lot of it. So I think I would have an edge on them. Like, could I be the fastest at building a Disney Infinity map that looks good? Probably. So maybe not like necessarily the competitive games that you're thinking of, but how many more personal questions we got to go through? Oof, we got a lot. Okay. All right. Let's get through it. But that's a tricky one. Again, I don't try to be skilled at games, and I'm not a big multiplayer fan. I don't really play games a lot to be like, I'm better than you. Like, that's just not, it's not a desire I have that gives me too much stress, I guess, or I don't know, just not, maybe if I owned a PC at an earlier age, I would have like played more Counter-Strike or more Team Fortress and gotten into that stuff. Chris Brabs, you've probably been seating. Well, he wrote been sat, but he probably been seated for at least an hour of intense business questions, probably mostly about logos and curtains. No logos, no curtains comments in this episode before you even get to this one. So for a start, let's both, along with the viewers, just take a knee for a second. Actually take a knee. Feel free to use this time to take a deep breath. Stretch your legs. You ever do these? These are good. Just grab it, stretch back. It's good to stretch forward like this. Ooh, got a little crack in my left right there. Let's do the other one. Like that. That's really good. Another good one too, if you do stretches, and this might hurt your back, grab your toes and then try to straighten your legs. And that stretch is actually the stretch that you want to feel if you're ever trying to touch your toes. At one point in my life, I could touch my toes. I can't do it anymore. I need to stretch more. Oh, that felt good. And take a swig from that cup of Jones. There we go. Regenerated and ready for another 3 pages of questions. Do we actually have 3 pages left? 1, 2, 3. How did they do that? Starting with, how's it going, man? You feeling good? Sophie feeling good? I hope the stressful part of Easy Allies isn't getting in the way of you enjoying it to the fullest now of what you guys are achieving here. The stressful part of Easy Allies is the enjoyment. It's a hornet's nest. It's all together. You can't enjoy it without feeling stressed at the same time. I can't be excited that we're going to turn 4 years old without being scared that we have to put on a crazy concert. We are turning 4 years old, right? 1, 2, 3. No, we're turning 3. Sorry. We've been around for 4 years, but we're turning 3 years old. Wait. That doesn't make sense. Wait, first anniversary, second anniversary, third. Yeah, so it's our 3rd birthday. But wait. It's so confusing. Yeah, Sophie's feeling good. Sophie had a bug bite on her back cheek, on her her leg, her little I just want to put barbecue sauce on it. But that was itching for a while that she was really working on, and her fur got kind of matted there. And we just kind of had to let it go and medicate it. But thankfully that's better. And so Sophie's been in a much better mood. She's probably sad right now because she's at the back door in there just like, what is he doing? He's been in that garage for a long time. I'm feeling fantastic. I meditated. I just stretched. That was nice. And I'm going to hopefully, looks like because YouTube worked today, I will not have to push back this episode. And I will get to make my workout appointment. And then later tonight, after posting Trailer Jones, which I've left a note for here, I'm going to be editing my preview of Days Gone that you'll see very soon. So yeah, it's good times, and it's gonna be a fun week. And we just hit 52K. This is gravy. Mike Hook 1, we absolutely need more Amanda, please. Not in this episode, but I hear you. Actually, let's redo the title to Cup of Joneses. You put Jones apostrophe S where it would just be Jones ES. Brandon, are you cool with this? No. David Lingenbrink, I just saw the incredible Jim Henson exhibit at the Museum of the Moving Image in NYC. How would you recommend getting into puppetry? Is taking a class worthwhile? Yes. How did you hone your puppeteering craft? That is an incredible compliment if you consider that I have a puppeteering craft. Let's get a puppet on here. I actually have a puppet in the garage. I was cleaning out the closet. Is he in here? Is he not in here? Oh, did I put him away? Oh, he's in the closet. Wait, I'll get him out of the closet. There he is. I also got Kermit in here, but that's not a puppet. I think I stand with Kermit. Let's get a puppet in here. We're talking about puppets. Come on. So they had I got this baby. Actually, I think I got this in New York, or I got this guy online. And this was through, speaking of Jim Henson, this was through the F.A.O. Schwartz, Build a Muppet thing. I think Elise Willems has 5,000 of these. So this was specifically crafted. I chose this nose, these eyes, the skin thing, this hair, and I put the suit on him. Make him an announcer. Yeah. Welcome to the show, everybody. Yeah. But yeah, I like doing puppets, and I think the one thing I can do is specifically the mouth movement. That's one of my biggest criticisms whenever I see people that try to do puppets, is they have a hard time hitting those syllables and making it actually look like the person is talking. But I was doing puppets, man, with like socks when I was 2. Like there's something about them that I really gravitated toward. The first time I saw Kermit the Frog on screen, it was like the first celebrity in my life. I was like, who is, and he was like, it was when on Sesame Street, when he was interviewing people on the moon, like, Kermit the Frog on the moon. I was like, I want to be that frog when I grow up. So I think it was just experience over time. My brother is also obsessed with it. So my brother and I would do puppets back and forth, but, it's fun for you to say that I have a puppeteering craft because, Amanda has a friend named Brian Jones, another Jones, who does puppeteering, who has worked actually with the Muppets, and he was on the Muppet TV show. And when you see him do puppets, it's like, oh, okay, because I got this guy for his arm. You can fasten. You can even see that like vanishes if I go back there. But so I can hook this into his arm and like make his arms do things. And when you start bringing that in, when you're like actually holding like 4 rods with this hand, and then you're holding this hand and you're moving hands and making eyes blink and stuff, like you see people, the stuff that they can do, it's pretty insane. And yeah, like any sort of performance, if you were going to say, should I get into voiceover? I want to do on camera. I want to be in commercials. I want to be in film. I want to be I want to do theater in my hometown, or I want to do puppeteering. Just class. Not only will you learn the skill, you'll get more comfortable with it. You'll get more confident. You'll meet people in that class. Those are always a valuable resource as far as what do I do next? Like, do you have representation? Do you have an agent? How long did that take? I don't know. I would imagine you would put a reel together for puppeteering. I don't know if you would appear yourself on that reel to prove that you're actually the person puppeteering that. I don't know. That's actually an interesting. There also might be puppet groups. Like I know there's a group in a show in LA called Puppet Up that I think actually changed the name. I don't know the name of it's the same name, but that was something that Brian Henson set up, Jim's son. And I know some actors that were involved in that. I don't know how they got involved in that, but like depending on what city you live in, there might be shows that are not this isn't television, but there might be fun live theater that you can get a part in or volunteer in and see how they make puppets or how they put those shows on. But good luck, David. Let us know how that's going. Known Fink. Back when No Man's Sky was first being shown, there was a somewhat infamous conversation you all had about what exactly the game was going to be. You showed some serious reservations, while others on the panel stood their ground with some diehard faith in the product. At the time, I thought this was one of the most fun and intense moments in GT history, but after its inclusion in a Krobcat montage, the clip picked up a lot of attention and became surrounded with an attitude of, look at these dummies falling for the hype, and this lone hero vigilante skeptic shining light on empty promises. Since then, I felt terrible for the other allies involved in the discussion, as you can still go to the comment section of the video and find new, unkind things being said about specific people. For the record, I thought it was a great moment all around. It's also not too different from many other heated conversations you have all had with one another on camera. So if it weren't for a third party on YouTube calling attention to it and sliding it into a montage to fit a narrative, it probably wouldn't have gotten so much negative attention. But enough rambling. My question is this. When something like this happens, when a specific ally or allies are criticized by the public, how do you all handle it? Do you share feelings about these things at your meetings? Or maybe the 9 of you don't discuss these things whatsoever? You all have been online personalities for so long now, I'm wondering how you handle these sort of nagging comments. The event in particular seems to have such a huge wave of negativity, but it didn't seem to faze any of you. It's damn impressive, really. I ask because I've personally been in similar situations online, though much smaller in scale, and I'd like to know how to keep it together. I'm also wondering how that dynamic changes when just a few people with a full unit are being picked out and criticized. There actually are several questions here. One, you're like, how do I keep it together, just me? Because we are a group, and so there is that other question of like, how does stuff like that function when you're in a group? I don't read a lot of YouTube comments. As patrons of Easy Allies, as people that support us, that might frustrate you and upset you, and I apologize. But I do read them. I just don't read them to the extent of seeing negativity and being like, oh no. Obviously we have to like police hurtful and abusive comments in our community, but if something is directed at us, if something is, even constructive criticism that can get kind of sharp, I just try to take it for what it is. Basically try to ask myself, what does this do? Does this make me actually critically think about my job? Like, does this make me actually put in a position where it's like, maybe I should, put a Patreon tier graphic on the podcast? Like that was suggested earlier today. Like, Yeah, I don't know if I'll do that right away, but that's an interesting suggestion. Versus like, you suck. It's like, well, there's nothing I can do with that. Like that's, or haha, you like No Man's Sky. You know, that game turned out to be stupid, which it didn't. That game is awesome right now. And it is worth saying, and I always try to bring this up, that whenever people go back and watch that video, and this is also the truth, that like doesn't matter what opinions you know send out there, people are going to chop them up and misconstrue them, and so it's not about you trying to say the perfect thing in any one given moment. It's about how you're able to commit to the ongoing discourse. And I, at the time, actually was not critical of No Man's Sky. I thought that game looked dope. I was like, even if this game is just me running around and grabbing supplies and selling them, I'll be happy with that. I'm just surprised they aren't copping to that they aren't saying that's what this game is. So when I was critical at that E3, it was not of No Man's Sky, it was of their advertising. And a lot that I think gets more misconstrued than anything, that people are like, haha, he thought No Man's Sky was going to be dumb. I didn't. I was looking forward to it. I just thought the way that they were, I could kind of get a sense that Sean Murray was like he was in a position now where he's like, I don't know what else to say about this game. You have to play it before you can really understand it. But to answer the second part of your question, when it comes to, and this could potentially be perceived as a business question, but like so many things with our personal opinions, I wanted to put it into personal because this is just how I feel on the subject. But I can speak to a little bit about how things like this have come up in the past, where something offensive was potentially said or somebody was frustrated about a comment from anywhere and brought that to light either in Slack or in person at a meeting. And we always try to encourage people to move on from those comments that, like, you know, you certainly, if that upsets you, we're not going to stop that. Like you need to, you know, understand your feelings about something, but don't see that as an absolute emergency to change something or to, you know, do a full 180 if you're happy with the course of where something you're working on is going. But if it's something like this, it's always on the person that is directed to inform how the rest of us are going to talk about that. If somebody wants support for something, they'll have it from the rest of the allies. Like if somebody wants, you know, I'm not saying we're going to like go get, you know, clubs and bats and go chasing after people, but if somebody did need an emotional support or did need backing from us verbally, publicly, that would certainly be something that we would be willing to do. It's just always on that person. We're always going to wait for that person to say it, because sometimes, especially for people that have, you know, an outreach among their various channels, if they're going to reach out and try to get in front of something or comfort someone, they can sometimes smother them at the same time or cause more harm. You know, sometimes when comments are made, people might not know about them. And then when you say, hey, this person made this comment, now more people know about that comment, and all of those people discovering it might not be the people that are going to support you then. They might be like, wait, I agree with that guy, and thanks for letting me know about that comment because I'm going to leave mine as well. And so it can be tricky, and I think in a group, atmosphere is best directed by the actual person that is being the most affected by it. Jay Zeifer, Reggie Fils-Aimé's recent retirement announcement got me just a bit misty-eyed. He's quite the character. Me too. When I watched his video on Twitter, I got a little. He's quite the character and was always incredibly effective at sparring with journalists and winning over fans. I always looked forward to seeing him in Nintendo's E3 presentations. As a brand manager yourself, what are your thoughts about his PR style at NOA, and what do you think his lasting impact on the company will be? I really like this last question. I want to answer that first. I think Reggie's lasting impact on Nintendo will be that they're not a perfect company. They're going to make the Wii U. They're going to have weird online services. Like, they're going to have things that they know that you know are behind, that a lot of the other industry is going to be innovating in ways that make sense for the way most other media is moving forward, that they're, you know, they might not have an HD console when everybody else does. They might not, you know, Trials Rising might run the absolute worst on the Switch, but like, they're still going to do things that you love. They're still going to do things that no one else is doing. And they're still going to do things that in the long term, you're going to understand the position of why they took it. And that's like the magic of Reggie's attitude about how he would approach things. Is one of the scariest things that I never want to regret is being cocky. Here at Easy Allies, we have a lot of success. We have a lot of people supporting us. We try to show how grateful we are continually. But sometimes there is kind of an enjoyment over, you know, when I rant, people are like, yay, Jones rant. And it's like, oh, I really dunked on that guy. Like sometimes you can be aggressive. We can be aggressive around each other and people enjoy it. But like, I don't want to try to satisfy ourselves enough with that feeling where we get to the point where we get desensitized to what if potentially the things that we are saying are hurting people that might not be getting back to us, that we might not be able to communicate with. And so Reggie has a cockiness to him. It's great. Reggie has, I think honestly, I'm going to put it on the table right now. I think my favorite, it used to be him with the watch doing the dance. I think my favorite Reggie gif that makes me laugh every single time I see it, it doesn't matter what people respond it in the gif to, and it just starts with him in front of a white background. And he just says, "What's wrong with you?" It's just that one. It's just text on the bottom side of the screen. And I remember seeing that direct where he said it. I don't remember what game he was talking about, but that's so damn funny to me. Just, what's wrong with you? Just repeating, like just somebody. when they did the when they had the 8chan AMA, and they posted that, and then there was like one of the comments. I'm like, that's it. That's the funniest reply to that. And that cockiness that Reggie has is a very delicate, difficult thing. I'm sure there are people out there that actually hate Reggie, that like are just like, I hate how cocky he is. I hate how confident he is. I hate how sometimes he just refuses to answer questions or will just dance around things. But it's always a dance. Like if you are a representative of a company, especially not only a company that makes video games, but a company that makes companies that makes video games, there's a lot you can't say. There's a lot, there's a lot, I feel just a tiny little grain of that right now, being a couple weeks away from our concerts. Like I know there are things going to be at the concert. I know things you're going to be watching before the end of the month or announcements we're going to make. And it's very exciting. And I'd love to talk to you about right now, but I want to try to be as blank as possible, put on my poker face so that I'm not making promises, so that I'm not saying something that I then later have to go back and be like, no, we didn't do that. I apologize for saying that. And considering how many different things, how many companies and projects that man was responsible for communicating, is just insane how comfortable he felt and how natural, how much I believed when he's like, hey, I'm playing this game. I'd be like, I believe it. I believe he's playing that game. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Maybe he hoodwinked me. But he really felt like somebody who loved his job and loved the Nintendo community and spoke clearly and with passion and was able to just navigate that gray area of, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm probably going to tell you something that really frustrates you, actually. But I love you. And when we find out about it later, you're going to enjoy it. And that's an extremely difficult thing to do. And I think we need to celebrate and cherish those people that are able to manage it, whether it's a skill that they've developed or it's just a part of their personality, and try to be like those people. Ivan de Wergefas, or Ivan de Vergefassi. Short-time listener, first-time writer, well, second time, but I submitted too late to the first time. I've recently been considering the way we play games. I think he mentioned he was curious to see how I was going to pronounce his name. Ivan de Vergifosse. Wergifosse. So it's either Foss or Fosse or Fossa. And it's either Werg or Verg. Vergifosse? Vergifosse? I know I got it wrong. I've recently been considering the way we play games, and I wanted to ask, what is your favorite way to play? Considering someone in your profession, I'm presuming you'd play a game differently depending on whether you're streaming, reviewing, or just playing privately for your own enjoyment. Do you feel streaming and interacting with chat can detract from the immersion? Does the looming deadline for review submissions cause you to rush through certain parts of a game that you otherwise might enjoy? Would you have enjoyed Assassin's Creed Odyssey as much if you'd had to rush through it in the open world to finish the review, or were distracted by chat during important story missions? Maybe I'm wrong, and it's all the same to you, in which case feel free to put me in my place. I just, all these opportunities I have to put people in their places, and I won't do it. What's your favorite way to play? On a chair. I don't like playing on couches, actually, because I'm a little too far away. I kind of like now when I play games in here with this TV with the chair, because I do like to be sitting upright. I do like to have good posture when I play it. Maybe like lean back a little bit. I've always been more of a controller guy than a mouse and keyboard guy. Sorry. Do you feel that streaming and interacting with chat can detract from the immersion? Sure, that's a given. There's absolutely no way. Case in point, it took me like 30 minutes for people to let me know that Slack beeps were coming in through this podcast. Apologize to listeners, man. That must have been really frustrating. But yeah, it's going to take away something. You're going to lose something, but it's not. I view it as a equal than and not a less than. It just becomes something else and isn't necessarily less than like the perfect gameplay experience. Aren't we all trying to find that perfect gameplay experience? Does the looming deadline for review submission cause you to rush through certain parts of a game that you otherwise might enjoy? Yeah, take out the might enjoy part. I'll have to rush through those things. But if you enjoy something and you've played enough games, you can understand what you can visualize the enjoyment spectrum. You can kind of see, okay, if I did that 20 more times, it would probably also be fun. Got it. And in a lot of cases, that's kind of what reviewers have to do. Would you have enjoyed Assassin's Creed Odyssey as much if you had to rush through the open world to finish the review, or were distracted by chat during important story missions? I would, maybe the parts of the game less, but the experience more, and therefore, again, it's an even thing. Like, what I didn't have when I was playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey is the chance to tell all of you wonderful people what I thought about it at the time. I chose to do that because I wanted to get through it super fast, and it was kind of like my drug at the time. It was like my game where I was like, Odyssey. And so it was nice to take a break from everything and just focus on that. But there are some games that when I'm playing it alone, I'm like, I should be streaming this right now. I think I would enjoy this more. I think when I play Dreams at home will actually probably be the worst because I'll be like working. I'll be like, this lighting effect isn't working, or how do I get this in here? This file isn't importing, or what's going on? Whereas like once it gets to Dream streams, I'll just be like, we're playing fun stuff. So it's I don't think there's one specific game or genre that works better or worse in either position. Maybe, so you're not wrong. Yeah, so there you go. It's tough. So again, it's not like a worse thing. It's just different. This is a different experience. Settling Geek. What is your favorite color scheme? Oh, Settling Geek, I think asked a business question, but then this was more personal. Also, what is your favorite color scheme besides the black, red, white EZA color scheme? Big fan of black and green, Green Lantern style. Love the black and green. Maggie Freyer, what do you think about Disney changing the older rides to newer IPs? We have talked about this, but it's Disneyland. I'll talk about this forever. The Tower of Terror in California Adventure turning into Guardians, Maelstrom at Epcot becoming Frozen, rumors about Coco taking over the Haunted Mansion. What? I haven't heard of those rumors. I'm assuming that's in Florida as well. That can't be in California. There's no way. There's no way Coco would take over the Haunted Mansion. They might do, excuse me. I could see them doing like a Nightmare Before Christmas thing where they have like a Coco theme that goes, I would be way down for that. A Coco Haunted Mansion, that'd be great. But permanently? No way. This is a newer idea for Disney, but something that Universal had adopted for a long time. I'm a huge fan because I love Halloween themed stuff. I would love it if every single ride at Disneyland got a Halloween theme. This is a newer idea for Disney, but something that Universal had adopted for a long time. I'm a bit apprehensive about it personally, though I do love Guardians, and wanted to hear your thoughts. Yeah, I don't love it, but I used to, as a kid, I would get really up in arms about any changes that they would make to stuff at Disneyland. I was like, just add, don't change. But as I've gotten older, it kind of makes sense in terms of the way I think managing the changes that come to Disneyland has got to be an incredibly stressful job because you have no days off. Disneyland can't close, like I mean, it does sometimes through technical issues or weather sometimes, but it's tough to make, you have kids growing up. They don't care about this old stuff, so you have to have a happy medium. And I think as you've seen them build more theme parks, you see more future proofing like that. You see more venues created without really, what is Gabriel Bernstein Usual Suspects? Like the theme will not be written on the walls, where the aesthetic, I think he says the aesthetic is not written on the walls. And so I think that's fine. I think that's theater, that's performance. Like you have a venue and then you keep changing it, you bring in new shows. And so I like thinking about Disneyland that way, as a venue for them creating a platform for fun experiences and not necessarily putting something in that no one goes in this building anymore, but we're keeping it, damn it. Like, I think that's kind of silly. I did love Tower of Terror though. I love the Twilight Zone. I at the end of the day, I enjoy Tower of Terror more than the new Guardians ride, but it is fun. And Maelstrom, it's Norwegians, it's my people. I miss Maelstrom. I have not been on the Frozen ride yet. James Kennedy, what would you say to someone who has Washington on their side? Must be nice Morgan Mohala, I really like the Far Cry series, but I also know it has some serious flaws. My dream scenario for the next Far Cry game would be to keep the gameplay, keep crafting and do more with base building, have a unique theme and setting, like a Van Helsing-style European setting where you hunt all the monsters, and to have the game ditch the serious tone and psychedelic sequences from the previous games. Yeah, the psychedelic stuff seems to be like just gospel, like we have to do it. I know you also enjoy the Far Cry series. Can we hear your idea for improved Far Cry entry? I mean, I never really thought about it specifically, but oh, you just nailed it. Gothic Far Cry? I've never thought of that, and I want that so bad now. Crossbows and stakes and flying things. Oh man. Oh my goodness. That's it. I can't think of anything else that I would want more than that. I was actually kind of pumped for Far Cry 5 because what I love about Far Cry is, I don't know if you've ever seen First Blood, the first Rambo movie, but that's Far Cry to me. Like starting out with nothing. That's actually where I really liked Primal, because you're like whittling your bows. You're literally not like upgrading stuff. You're like, I don't have a bow. Now I have a bow. So I really dug that. So I would literally just love First Blood. You are Rambo, Ubisoft's Rambo, first person. You're actually playing through the events of the story. That would be my pick, but your pick was way better. A Gothic Far Cry. Happy Gaming. Over the last few weeks, you've been honest about something that gives you a lot of anxiety. And while cooking is something I generally really enjoy, here we go. I can understand and respect that it's difficult for you. If you're ever in town, dinner and games will be on my girlfriend and I. I was curious if I could get advice on something that personally gives me anxiety, and I know that you enjoy, though: open world video games. I love playing games of all sorts, but when I see the size of an open world map with all the little objective icons, I generally get anxious and exhausted. This makes some great games, Red Dead and Spider-Man, for example, recently, more difficult to pick up for me than something smaller, and something more linear and guided. I love massive games, but having the agency to explore a breadth of options all at once compared to a funneled approach of something like Final Fantasy that opens up very gradually with the story generally will overwhelm me more than entice me. The easy solution is just to play the types of games I enjoy, but nowadays more and more games are adopting large open world environments. Rather than writing them off because I hate to be dismissive, what are some things I can do to ease this anxiety? Sure, I wonder if easing anxiety is something that actually takes a medical professional, but because I don't know why it's giving you anxiety. I hear that it was interesting having Cory Barlog say why he doesn't like open world games. He's like, it looks like homework. But to me, what I like is, I'm all about immersion in games, and open world games are the most immersive for me, because open world games tell me, you're here. You're here in this world, full stop. If you found a wall, your door you can't get into, like that's our bad, or you don't have the key to that door. Like, it really kind of strips games down to its bare essentials, and I think is a really tremendous challenge for a developer to try to make that world evolve as you go through the story and make you actually feel in all those moments that, yeah, I am actually living in this world. Because when you get in a plane in Far Cry 5 and you're like, why don't I just fly away? Like that's all. Now we've hit those walls, and now you expose the seams of development. But for people that don't like open world games, what I would assume is the genesis of your anxiety is this idea that you have to do everything, and I never do that. Spider-Man, I think, is like the last open world game I can remember where I do almost everything. There were some I think the challenge is I did get gold, and I did do that before I put up the review. So by the time I put the review up, I got a platinum in Spider-Man, which I rarely get platinums in anything. And so it's always interesting to me in open world games, even something quote unquote open world like Dragon Quest has a lot of open world sensibilities. I play as long as I can until I go like, oh, wait, I'm done. Wait, I don't want to play anymore. I'm done. And then I move on like to the next game. And so try to explore it that way. Like don't look at a list being like, I got to do all these things. Just do the story. If you like the story stuff, do a test and like erase those things. Challenge the game to entertain you. Like, challenge open world games to demand that you go out and actually do those extra things. Because a lot of times you don't have to. And as open world games evolve, specifically, like, this is what Red Dead 2 is all about, is this, like, how do we manage? If you're like, I don't like my gang, it's like, okay, that's an option. You're like, I don't want to see them move from this area. You don't have to. If you want to, have that gang do work in Saint Denis, yeah, you should probably do the story. Otherwise, you're abandoning the group. But Red Dead tries to create so many opportunities, not to turn this into a Red Dead PSA, but it really tried to take that approach of like, how do we really make this feel like a world you're living in and not just a story that you're trying to skip through. And so, yeah, just do the next story mission and then play Spider-Man and only do the yellows. Whenever a yellow icon comes up, go for it. And then if you pass something that, maybe he'll mention something's nearby, or Red Dead, like just do the story and then just do the orange icons, but then, or I think they're yellow as well, but then, somebody comes up on the side of the road, like really kind of check yourself and think like, do I care? Like if this is a criminal that's like, here, shoot the chain so I can get away. Like, do you want to help that person? Like that to me is really, really what I enjoy. Obviously it's fun to like get to vistas and look out, or it's fun to just like be in a car or a horse and just like go out into the open world. But, or in fun games like, Just Cause to do it in a jetpack. But, I think that's my guess for where anxiety comes from, is this feeling that the game is like, you better do all of this. You don't have to. You are in control. That's what open world was great about open world. It's you are behind the wheel. So, tell that game, no, I'm not going to do things unless they're cool. Ibrahim Sozer with our final question for this episode. I sent a DB SNES games in the mail that you should have received. I think we got them. Did you not watch the group stream? Yeah, we opened up all that stuff. I just wanted to say it's the best JRPG I've ever played. What has a better chance of you watching a season, Gotham or Dragon Ball? Dragon Ball. That's how much I don't like Gotham. And I haven't seen a season. I have seen a couple episodes of Gotham. I don't think I've seen it. Oh no, I have watched episodes of Dragon Ball. It's just been a long time. Yeah. Because, you know why? I think also because if I showed up, because imagine the group, all 8 allies are there, right? That are obviously aren't me. We're all in the group stream. And I'm like, oh, by the way, I watched a full season of, imagine the reaction of Gotham, and Hugh would be like, yeah. And they're like, other couple of the allies would laugh, and maybe Blood would be like, oh, nice. If I said Dragon Ball, I think the room would explode. I think yes, I watched a full season of Dragon Ball AMA. Yeah, Ibrahim, go back and double check with me that we opened those packages. And to everyone who has sent a package that has not been opened yet on a group stream, we will get to it eventually. Apologies if stuff like that takes time. Why do I hate Huber? Keeping up with everything Huber wants you to do is a full-time job. And I already have a full-time job, so thanks. All right, let's do an editorial. Let me take a nice long pause, actually. Because I want to talk very briefly about what games I'm excited for this year. It's fun to do. It's really interesting. I always get excited whenever Blood sends out the release schedule, because it's at Christmas. We get these codes. We get a lot of these games for free. And so Blood will be like, all right, here's the list of games for March. Let me know as we're going into March what games you want to play. I'm actually not going to review anything in March. So I'm taking March off, which is nice. It was nice to get that Anthem review done. But I am reviewing Days Gone in April, unless somebody steals it from me. So there are things coming up, and I'm going to play the heck out of Sekiro. I'm just not going to be reviewing it this month. So there is stuff coming up, and it's fun whenever Blood sends a list, because it's just like, yay, video games. Like, let me just look in and see what my March is going to be like, what I might want to cover. So half of these games we do have dates for, half of them we don't, but supposedly, all of these games are coming out in the year that is 2019, and I want to play all of them. Sekiro comes out on March 22nd. I'm going to play the heck out of that. I hope I'll finish it. I don't know. Man, I'm scared of that game, because I hope it's not too difficult that I can't. I played a lot of Neo, but I didn't finish Neo. I probably could, but those games are hard, man. I finished Bloodborne because I got completely obsessed with it, and I think I beat that game twice, maybe 3 times. But yeah, scared of Sekiro. Mortal Kombat 11 comes out on April 23rd, and I really liked Injustice 2. I'm really excited with all the stuff that NetherRealm's been doing lately. I mean, I played all of the DC versus Mortal Kombat. They made 2 of those games, right? Or was the DC Mortal Kombat 2 called Injustice, and then they made Injustice 2? Have they only made 3 of those, I guess? However that was set up, Injustice 2 was phenomenal, and it was maybe one of the only fighting games of this generation that I played a considerable amount. No, I was going to say other than Smash Brothers, but I haven't played a lot of Smash Brothers online. I played a lot of Injustice 2 online as Catwoman, as my main, and had a lot of fun, and had some really fun matches there. And so it'd be neat. It'd be fun to make some time for Mortal Kombat 11, which comes out on April 23rd, but it might be in May when I do that because Days Gone comes out on April 26th. That is one of my most anticipated games from this year. I think things about that game. We'll talk about that game soon. Rage 2 comes out on May 14th. I'm going to be playing some Rage 2. Dragon Quest Builders comes out on July 12th. And I'm going to be ready for that. I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to play that game on PlayStation 4 and on Switch. I'm probably going to review it on PlayStation 4, but Amanda is definitely going to play that game too, and that game is co-op. So our review might have 2 different platforms in it. Can we do that, Blood? I don't know, because if I play that game co-op, I might play it a little bit on PlayStation 4 with somebody online just for kicks, just to understand how it feels. But I'm going to play a lot of that game co-op with Amanda on the Switch. So a lot of my post-game content might be on the Switch, because that might be a lot of the time, because I don't want to slow down Amanda's campaign. So if Amanda is playing that on her own, I don't want to mess with that. But then if they do Terra Incognita again, or have some late game stuff that you can do, I'll probably be doing most of that on Switch. Runs better on PS4, or at least the first Builders did. I would presume 2 does as well, but it's just so nice having that game portable. And I think ultimately I ended up spending more time with the first Builders on Switch than I did on PS4. But Builders 2. And that means nothing in June. Nothing. So it'll be nice to skip a month, especially the month of E3. And then that's it for actual release days. But more games that are coming out this year that we do not have dates for, that I'm extremely excited about, in alphabetical order, which means we're starting with Animal Crossing. We don't have the date yet. We do know it's 2019. We don't know the concept. We don't know what it's called. It's going to be called Animal Crossing. Yeah, and we don't know what that is. But man, I'm telling you, I don't talk about Animal Crossing that much, even though I'm very excited about it. Because in my opinion, there's just not, I don't know. I don't feel like there's anything to talk about. I feel it's moot until we know a premise. Everyone's like, well, what do you want? It was kind of like Pokemon. It's like, what do you dream that it should be? It's like, I don't care, because the more I dream, the more hurt I'm going to be when it ends up, oh, it's this. Okay. We skateboard now. Great. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous about when that game's going to come out. I'm nervous about what the plans there are for the Switch. And I'm going to be playing so much of that game. I hope I keep going. There's always that fateful day when you stop playing Animal Crossing. And I hope I can play this Animal Crossing more than any other. But I just imagine, just with how much I enjoyed that Switch, the second I had that console in my hands, I was like, this is the first game I thought of. I was like, oh man, Animal Crossing on this thing. Whew. So a lot of exciting things going on with all those Nintendo properties. Hopefully it continues with Animal Crossing. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. I'm going to play the heck out of that. How much time will I be able to put in whenever it comes out? I don't know, compared to other things, but all of my, all the roads in my brain point to Bloodstained. It's just so many things that I enjoy, with genres and music and the developer. And so there's a lot going on with that game that I'm excited about. Here's a curveball, Cat Quest 2. There's a game called Cat Quest that I played on the Nintendo Switch that I got for Amanda as a present for her birthday or Christmas or something, as a joke. I was like, I mean, no shade thrown at Cat Quest, but it's an RPG where you're a cat. And so because that sounded adorable to me, I got that for my wife as a gift. And I was like, yeah, Cat Quest. And Amanda gets back to me and she's like, I love this game. This game's incredible. I think you should play this. And I was like, okay. So I borrowed her Switch and played a little bit of it, and I really liked it. It's interesting. It's an RPG where you fight on the overworld. So imagine an RPG where it's just the overworld map and you're just running around and fighting stuff. So it's a really, really fast RPG to get through. It's just a quick action RPG. There's a lot of AoE attacks. It's a lot about swarming and dodging. The combat is kind of like bosses in MMOs, where there's a lot of don't step here and now use your AoE, now move away. Because it was just so accessible and so quick, I was like, that's great. And they had a New Game Plus, and I was like, I gotta play that again. So I played it again, all buffed up, and just ran through it again because it was fun. And Cat Quest 2 is gonna have co-op. So man and I were like, sold, great. Cat Quest 2 of all the things to be on my list for this year. Another game that I'm interested in. I don't know if I'll have time when it comes out, but Control looks incredible. And I did not play. I played Alan Wake and loved it, but I have not played. Wait, they didn't make Alan Wake, did they? Yeah, they made Alan Wake. Wait, yes. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. But I did not play Quantum Break, and I'm just really excited for maybe there is a Dog Quest. I don't know. I haven't played Dog Quest yet. Control. Dreams, obviously. Dreams. Dreams is going to be amazing. Dreams is going to change your life. Dreams is hopefully going to sell well. Hopefully going to be worth all of the time that they put into developing it. Some people are kind of frustrated with how they're rolling it out. It's gonna be like $30 for the intro, and it's not technically the game. And so unfortunately, I think a lot of people are going to review it on that $30 price point. And maybe you're going to hear a lot of reviews this spring that are like, well, if they had single player stuff, maybe I'd be interested. But right now it's just a bunch of tools. And like, that's what they're selling it as. They're like $30 for tools. So a lot of people might be disappointed or let down. I'm just gonna picture like a burger with like 4 patties, you know, and just like half a tomatoes like sticking out of the burger. It's like the type of burger where you bite into it and like the entire burger just goes flying out of the back of the burger. That's Dreams. I'm so excited. Watch Dreams launches like a week before E3. I'm like, no. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, another Marvel Ultimate Alliance. Yes, please. Graphics don't look that great. Animation doesn't look that great. I don't care. Just give me a dumb Marvel game to run through. I'm pissed I never played Marvel Heroes. I actually booted up Marvel Heroes. I was like, oh, I don't have anything to do today. I'm going to play Marvel Heroes. And it was like the week they shut down. I was like, well, too late. But yeah, Ultimate Alliance 3 on the Switch. Pokemon Sword. I'll play it. Looks jolly. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is a game, apparently. Did you know that's a video game on Star Wars? That's the people are making, apparently. Apparently we're going to find out in a couple weeks what the heck's going on with that. So yeah, excited about that. We'll probably play that. Might review it. I don't know. Brad and I will probably do rock, scissors, paper for whoever's reviewing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Also, Fallen Order is like, no, I'm just so tired of the Star Wars stories that are like, and then the Jedi fell. And it's like, again? You can't. It's like a Mission Impossible when people are disavowed. It's like, you're done. You can't do it again. Like, it's just always, every story starts. Ugh. So this idea of like, like if I see a shot of people looking at the Jedi Temple in flames and they're like, I'll be like, I've literally seen this 4 times. Like, you cannot stop it with, I do believe in Respawn though. And Respawn is killing it right now. Respawn is a lot of street cred. And so, yeah, sorry, Respawn, that you're put in this position of all of you Star Wars fans being like, but it's just where we're at. And then finally, Super Mario Maker 2 is going to be great. I reviewed Super Mario Maker 1, and I actually have some interesting opinions about Super Mario Maker 1 that a lot of people are like, shut up, Jones. And I'm like, okay. I think Super Mario Maker 1 is fantastic. I think it's it's revolutionary. I think it's the perfect Mario Maker game. They're just the perfect addition to the Mario franchise. I was surprised there wasn't a lot more to it other than just like, yeah, build games. I was like, there's no tutorial. There's no history of Mario section. There's no, you built missions, but like you just kind of like built a bunch and then just threw them in, you know, where like Dreams is launching actually with like narrative audio stories, you know? And so I thought there'd be some kind of campaign in here that introduced me to these elements. And they're like, yeah, wait a full 24 hours and we'll give you more tools. There's a lot of really weird stuff about Mario Maker. Just from my expectations, having played Little Big Planet and Disney Infinity and Minecraft and a lot of other games, and then coming into this game and being like, oh, you're not going to do any of the other things that these games are doing. Okay, cool. Super Mario Maker was like, you can make Mario levels. What? And I was like, no, that's cool, man. That's neat. That's really cool. And people are making some really great levels. I just, just content-wise, there's not, whatever. But Super Mario Maker 2 is going to be amazing, and it's going to sell like crazy, and everybody's going to love it. So I probably shouldn't review the next game. But those are my takes. That's my, Sekiro, Mortal Kombat 11, Days Gone, Rage 2, Dragon Quest Builders 2, Animal Crossing, Bloodstained, Cat Quest 2, Control's Dreams, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, Pokemon Sword, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and Super Mario Maker 2. Are my most anticipated games of 2019. I haven't written any takeaways because we did an editorial. Amanda came in. We were an hour and 20 minutes late because YouTube didn't work. A lot of hiccups. But if you had a good suggestion, I told you this week. And I'll be better at writing down all of those takeaways. But I got to get out of here. I got to do stuff. I was supposed to be done about an hour and a half ago. So I got to go start my workday and get some stuff done. We will have... I just want to say this as we wrap up before I end this episode of Cup of Jones. It's March. It's our anniversary month. We have some exciting things happening this month, and please be excited. We're actually, the concert's going to be a little less than we have done in previous years. We did a lot of announcements during the concerts previously. We made sure that every single ally got stage presence and was involved in something physically on stage. This year is really a focus on Mysterious Monsters, and maybe I'll repeat this again at the beginning of future Cup of Joneses, but there will be other things surrounding our anniversary, other fun, exciting projects and announcements and stuff like that. So it's not just going to be the concert. It's this whole darn month. It's never too early to start celebrating the 3rd anniversary of Easy Allies. But on top of that, I should say specifically, again, thank you so much to all of our patrons for helping us get to the 52K level. Thank you to people who have been sponsoring us. Thank you to new sponsors. And thank you to not only are people getting, obviously supporting us financially and potentially upping their pledges, we're getting new patrons coming in, through things like streams that we do or through spoiler modes. Every time we put up a spoiler mode, we get new patrons in. And so we have had a lot of growth, a lot of momentum. A lot of people are saying very kind things about us despite our ugly windows and baby's first studio. And just the fact that I think we've been so internally focused on things that you might not see yet, or changes that might not happen for weeks or months. It is so affirming and really just, you talk about getting misty-eyed. Like, it's really incredible just to then see the patron go. We're not doing any specific patron drives. We're not specifically creating content to announce, or showcase new things that we're doing in the studio just yet. We're really just focusing on getting good at the stuff that we already do. And our Patreon continues to grow, and it's because of all of you. So whether you see this live or later or years later, whether you are a new patron and you do not watch Cup of Jones, in which case, why am I even talking to you if you're not watching this? But that support is incredible. That support is what is going to bring in a lot of fun, new, exciting things for this business. And I thank all of you. Sorry I was late today.